Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
OB, thank you. What am I being thankful? Well, I'd love for your mic to be on. And try now.
Okay, you're welcome. What am I being thankful for?
Well, here's the thing. I had given up on the season, the basketball season, up until about 13 seconds ago. And when I say about giving up on the season, I just didn't think it's a reality or a possibility that they're going to find their way into the tournament unless magic happens and they do what they've done the last couple years, work their way through the SEC, but actually win it this time, not lose it. And I thought it was over. And you just said tomorrow's a must-win, and I forget how you phrased it, but basically it's a huge game tomorrow. And I had already kind of given up, and you're like, no, they're still away.
Yeah, it's like, you know, you saw the old cartoon when they used to be drowning, they'd hold up the number one, and then they'd hit their hand up and be the number two, and then three. So they're putting up the number three now, and this is the way you can just stay alive. First of all, I don't think you can lose another regular season game and feel like you even have a chance to get into the tournament. So you got to win it from there. But at this point, I don't think you have that you can win enough in the regular season to get in. That's just my opinion.
Right.
Now, if they win their last three, that's including a win over Mississippi State maybe. But what you're probably going to have to do is win the SEC tournament. And as highly unlikely as that is, it's even more so if you don't get the first round bye. You don't want to have to win 4 games in 4 days. You know, it's winning 3 games is going to be hard enough. So you got to get that first round bye. Well, A&M has they're basically one game out of not having to play. The bottom 4 teams. The bottom 4 teams play on Wednesday in the SEC tournament. A&M is tied for 5th. The bottom of the 5th, you know, so they're barely out of it. Well, one of the teams that they're just in front of is Georgia. If you lose at Georgia, not only are you now tied with Georgia, but Georgia has the tiebreaker on you.
Mm-hmm.
So just as it's that kind of game that you're fighting to keep your head above water. And if you can beat Georgia, at least you keep your head above water for a little while.
So, and you know, there's that term that people use. So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
Now, have we seen anything that makes us believe that chance recently? I'm talking about over the last 2 weeks. Anything that makes you think, you know what, they can go to Georgia and win?
Oh yeah. I mean, they can go to Georgia and win, but they've been a bad road team all year. But you know, the fact that South Carolina is a good team and you lost to them on a last second or almost 3 seconds layup. Yeah, you can go over there, play well enough. Eventually, you're going to win on the road again. And I think this is your best chance to win. You only have 2 road games left, and I think this one is more winnable than playing at Ole Miss. But yeah, so win that one, and you keep your head above water.
Look, I don't think they're going to get in the tournament based on what I've seen recently.
I agree, but
Georgia at least keeps you interested enough. If you win that game, all right. Look, we have to watch the games, right? But I'm talking about like the casual fan. If they beat Georgia, they're like, oh, look, I'll pay attention. You know, like there's certain levels of interest. Like you always want your team to win, right?
Uh-huh.
But if they beat Georgia, you're like, all right, look, I'll pay attention to the next game. We'll see what they do against Mississippi. So but if you lose to Georgia, Not many people were watching.
If you lose to Georgia, again, I think it's important to be able to avoid playing on the first day of the SEC tournament. I think that's kind of the motivation. But if you lose to Georgia, you fall to 15-14 with Mississippi State and a road game left. Now, the question I would have now, because I don't know if there's any rules even for the NIT, can you be in the NIT with a losing record? Because if you lose to Georgia, you're looking at the very real possibility of not just having a disappointing season, which we've already acknowledged, but to have a losing season.
Yeah. They're on a path for this to be a more disappointing season than the COVID season, and the COVID season was obviously way worse. But there were some circumstances that made that,
of course,
right. This is like there were real expectations with this team, real legit and reason to believe.
Just 2.5 weeks ago, reasons to believe.
Yep.
So at some point you got to get it turned around, and you're at the point now. I mean, I thought if they had beaten South Carolina, okay, that might have been the saving grace that you would be in a position where people think, yeah, they're still going to eke their way into the tournament. That home loss, you're on life support.
You are.
And if you don't win it, I would say a loss at Georgia would be equal to pulling the plug.
A loss at Georgia makes you like, you know what? I don't even want you to go to the NIT. I do. I
don't.
I enjoy basketball, like watching basketball. This has not been enjoyable recently, right? And I'd say most of the season has been kind of a weird, you have these really high points. You're like, oh, okay. And then followed by,
I think the NIT is important if you don't get into the NCAA tournament, if you have a really young team.
Right.
And you want to get some experience and all those things going for you for the next season. But A&M's not a young team, which is one of the reasons why this has been such a frustrating year. This is a mature team.
John and Caldwell, you two are still beating a dead horse. It's going to run. It's not going to run anymore.
What?
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you believe that, and quite frankly,
so stop feeding the horse, let him die.
So quite frankly, I'm close to. I am almost 100% on board with what he just said. What I'm saying is, your head is just barely above water right now.
Let me ask you a question. By the way, this is TexAgs Radio. I haven't even told you guys that. You probably were listening to something like, what am I listening to? This is new. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. This is Coffee Talk, presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. So, but John, while I've already stated, I don't think anything's going to come out of this. I've stated that. It is a talk show, and on talk shows, we talk. And you know what we talk about? We examine the how and the how not. That's probably not.
I think the most important thing I'm getting at is that you are trying to make sure you get the first round bye in the SEC tournament. The last 2 years, you've made runs in the SEC tournament, but you may have to win the SEC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. And as unlikely as that is to occur, it's even more unlikely if you're in a position where you have to win 4 games. Because when they did make their unlikely run in 2 years ago in Tampa,
2021, yeah.
By the time they played that 4th game, they were out of gas.
Right.
So I'm just saying that your unlikely chance to get in to get into the NCAA tournament probably becomes impossible if you lose at Georgia.
I'm trying to go back. When did their win streak, I'm looking at it here, start in 2022? I'm trying to look at it. It looks like when they, it's the middle, it was before now they had started. They beat Georgia, they beat Auburn, they beat LSU, they beat Arkansas, they beat Missouri, who was a ranked team, they beat Tennessee, who was a ranked team, and then they lost to Mississippi State on February 25th. So right around now, when they got super hot.
Yeah.
Well, before now, I should say.
I thought they played well enough offensively to win against South Carolina. They didn't play well enough defensively.
They played well enough if you look at the score.
I'm not saying they played well.
No.
Well enough. They did what they need to do.
But their star players didn't do. I mean, what did Boots have? 19 in that game. Boots had
I think he was maybe 19.
Yeah. I think Wade had 15 in that game. It's kind of reverse of what they normally do, but they weren't as efficient. And look, let's get into 3 things we want to see this weekend, and that's going to include baseball as well, or whatever. It can include track. It can include anything. We're running our mouths with 3 things we want to see, brought to you by the Brazzers Running Company, your local Aggie-owned specialty running store where you can find Brooks on Hoka shoes located at Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill. Let me give you my 3 because it's on point of what we were just talking about. For A&M, what I want to see basketball-wise this weekend, I want to see 30% from the three-point land. Okay, which is not high, right?
Oh, for them it is.
But for them, it'd be fantastic. But here's my caveat to there, or just my qualifier. Only take 10 shots. Okay. 3 of 10, I like.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not necessarily a high percentage, but it's not too many long rebounds that put you in a bad spot. I mean, look, Logan yesterday said a good number for them to shoot between 15 and 18. Sure, if you're hitting, but you're not hitting right now. So let's keep it at 10 to 12. And maybe make 3 or 4 in that range, I'm happy. If you can hit more, by all means. But I want 30% at least from the 3 without going crazy, right? Don't shoot a bunch of 3s. I'd like to see a similar recipe for baseball this weekend, which is going to mean a couple of offensive explosions, one awesome pitch. I mean, I want a lot of awesome pitching performances, but like one of these games where like pitching and defense wins the game for you against higher quality opponents. That's 2. And all the Aggies to test well at the Combine, but I'm thinking about Anaya Smith. I want Anaya Smith, somebody that people doubt because of his size and whatnot. I want him to show people, like, I need this guy on my team. He interviews well. He runs well. He does everything that he's supposed to do well. He does it well. Those are my 3 things.
Yeah, good football player. He's just a good football player. I'll be really interested to see his 40 time. Okay, what I want to see from the basketball standpoint is I want to see them attack the rim. Get fouled, go to the free throw line a lot. I want to see them take fewer 3s unless they have early success with it. And then baseball, man, I just want to see more of the same. You know what I want to see, though? I want to see continued strong pitching.
Yep.
Because I just feel like the offense is going to be there more often than not. There's going to be games. A&M might actually get shut out sometime this year in baseball. I mean, it happens in baseball, right? But I think in a 3-game series, right, 2 games, you're going to be very productive offensively at least.
Ag Engineering 12. We had all day Thursday to go over hoops. Hey, guy, it's I know you're a loyal listener.
Yeah, they're going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, they're going to play tomorrow. And baseball's going to – we have a whole hour and more with Billy, dedicated to baseball. And we're going to talk some baseball as we just kind of did a moment ago. So there's a lot of baseball to go on for this show. So we'll get into that. And also, I got some football topics to get into because typically this is a football show.
Never a bad time to talk about college football.
I like Mike Elko. I'm going to say that every day.
I do too.
I like him. I like him a lot.
We just hope we like him, but in the framework of the actual season, because he is barnstorming the off season.
He's handling it well.
Actually, not the right word.
He's doing a really nice job.
He's winning the.
He's doing
off-season.
everything I want him to do.
Yeah. He's
saying the right things. It looks like he's getting the right players. He's getting the right staff. Like, so far, nothing matters until the season. Right. That's when the test comes. But right now, I like it. And I'm allowed to like it. I'm allowed to.
Yeah, it's like...
I'm going to tell you the truth, Obi. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
I remember thinking before the Mississippi State game or whenever it was after the Ole Miss game, thinking to myself, bro, how am I going to do it? I said bro to myself. Bro, how am I going to do a show for a year acting like I'm interested in this Jimbo offense in the future? That question hit me like, can they be pretty good? Yeah, they can be. They've been, but do I really buy it? Is it a freaking magic show? Like, is it just, okay, we'll give you 1 year and then we'll give you 3 bad years. Then we'll give you 1. Like, I am right now fully reinvested in what the future could look like because of the change.
I feel like they'll show them, let's make a deal. And you already know what was behind door number 1.
Right.
And maybe it wasn't bad. Maybe it was the radar range or the patio furniture. But you know the car is still out there, and you have the option to take door number 2. So I'm kind of like taking door number 2 and waiting to see what's behind it.
Yeah, I like that. I like a good analogy right there. Before we check in with the people, let's do this. Brad Duncan, I think it's Brad Duncan, it says Brad Dunk. Getting married on Saturday, honeymoon at Lake Travis, and then going to the baseball game in Austin on Tuesday.
Oh, he chose well.
Nice job, Brad.
Nice job choosing your bride.
Yeah.
That's going to allow that.
Is she an Aggie?
She's allowing that.
She's allowing
it. She must be.
Jack, is winning the SEC tournament the only path to the NCAA tournament at this point?
I think so.
I don't know. But you got to play. The team has to play like that.
Here's if not winning the SEC tournament, here's what, and I'm no expert on it, but I think they have to do. I think they have to win out the regular season, because then at least you would get what would be another quad win one, I believe, over Mississippi State if you won the lat, and then you'd probably have to win a couple of games in Nashville.
And if you get a bye in that scenario, you'll probably take on some good teams, good-ish teams.
Yeah, but if you don't get a bye, that means you didn't win the last 3.
Right, and it's over.
It probably means you didn't win the last 3.
She's an Aggie fan. All right. Congratulations, Brad. That's awesome for you.
Good job.
If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it on YouTube. You can do it on TexAgs.com. You can do it on our text line, 979-693-1150. You can call us on that number, 979-693-1150. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Jackson Moss, where am I going to be on Saturday with Billy Liucci?
You are going to be at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm. Tomorrow, March 2nd.
3rd.
Oh, no, March
2nd. Yeah, I'm sorry.
March 2nd.
Yeah, March 2nd.
March
Today's March
2nd.
1st, 2024.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
All right, March 2nd.
I'm going to be there doing a Q&A.
Yes.
I'm going to be there doing a meet and greet. And I know you want to be there to meet Billy. So, 5 to 7. You should come.
I'll be watching some basketball.
What are we going to be watching?
They will, man, that sounds like more fun than a prison rodeo.
Prison rodeos are fun, bro.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Except for maybe the prisoners.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, being in jail sucks, to be honest with you. Not that I know, but I would assume it's not fun. Jackson, tell me the last time you were in jail. I'm kidding. Don't tell me about that. I already read your summary on your blog. Let's get into the News and Social Center.
So
I'm kidding. He didn't go to jail that I know of. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say it wasn't my first prison rodeo, but kind of miss.
Do they still have the prison rodeos over in Huntsville? I bet they do.
You think so?
Okay, yeah, I bet they do.
If they do, I haven't been to one in a while.
Moving on.
Aggie baseball remains undefeated after their matchup against Lamar this past Tuesday and looked ahead to the Globe Life Series in Arlington, where they will play Arizona State tonight, actually, at 6 p.m. and USC tomorrow at 2 p.m. And then they're going to play Arizona State one more time on Sunday at 11 a.m.
Isn't that like playing your own farm system? A&M against Arizona State?
Yeah, pretty much.
Seems like they harvest a lot of players out of Tempe.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So they're currently first in the nation in ERA, fourth in batting average, and third in on-base percentage, and they've been nothing short of exciting to watch this season. And while we're talking about the Diamond Sports, Aggie softball picks up yet another win to improve the record to 16-1 after beating Michigan on the road 6-0. Emily Kennedy dominated, and by the way, she's just been dominating all season. The Circle to remain undefeated on the season while registering a 7th complete game and 5th shutout of the year. And the Aggies have homered in 13 games this season, including home runs in 4 consecutive games. The number 21 Texas A&M women's tennis team kicks off conference play with 2 home matches again at the Mitchell Tennis Center Friday, March 1st against number 14 South Carolina.
That would be today.
Also known as today.
Yeah. AKA today.
Look, I do my prep the night before, man. You gotta bear with me here. You gotta use context clues. Against number 14 South Carolina and Sunday versus number 19 Florida, or in 2 days, if that's better. Last time out, the Aggies topped SMU 4-1, marking their 47th straight win at the Mitchell Tennis Center. And finally, E.B. Cushing Stadium will host the Bluebonnet High School Meet, which will welcome over 100 teams to Aggieland this weekend. The Bluebonnet High School Meet runs both Friday and Saturday, and we'll see over 2,000 athletes across track and field. Friday's running events start at 12 p.m., while the field events begin at 2 p.m. On Saturday, running events take place at 10 a.m., and the field portion gets started at 11 a.m.
You know, I think
Jackson, thank you.
I think the UIL should look into moving the state track and field meet here.
Why don't you start the movement?
And I'll tell you why.
Tell us.
Because the traffic in Austin is so bad. There have been participants that have missed, like from West Texas, that don't understand how to navigate, that you've got to leave your hotel 3 hours before your race, that have actually missed their events because they got stuck in traffic. And now we have all the hotel space that we used to not have here.
The only
UIL, bring it over.
Yeah, except I don't like traffic personally. That's just me. Like, I don't want the traffic to come, but I think it would be great for the community.
Well, yeah, there'd be more traffic, but they got stuck in traffic because of the traffic that's already in Austin.
Yeah. Nah, I get you. All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. Don, I see your email. We'll read that when we come back because I think there is an answer to that. Right now, 12 under 12. Association of Former Students, do you know someone or did you graduate from A&M within the last 12 years, and are you leading by example in business and in service? If that's the case, the Association of Former Students would like to invite you to nominate yourself or someone that you know for the 12 under 12 Young Alumni Spotlight. So each year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, outstanding representation of A&M's core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have been included leaders in business, higher education, architects, petroleum, engineers, nonprofit executives, physicians, veterans, and members of the U.S. Armed Forces. 2024 nominations close on Sunday, March 31st. Be sure to submit a nomination soon. To learn more about this recognition and submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12 under 12 nominations. We're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and it is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Jackson, would you please read Don West's email, please, or text, I should say.
Yeah, it says Boots had a double-double in game against South Carolina. What more can you ask of a two-guard?
Not a lot.
Not a lot, but I think the way I phrased it earlier, he probably thought I was taking a shot at Boots. Nobody played well in the first half, or from those two, like they struggled a little bit in the first half, but he did play well. He did. He did. He gave Wade's typical numbers.
What they did in the first half, where I thought, but based on the numbers, they made mistakes. They took too many 3-pointer shots.
Yep.
They were lucky. At halftime, they were only down 3. They were 0 for 10 from the 3-point line, while South Carolina was shooting over 50% from the field.
Yep.
South Carolina made 52%, and A&M was from the field. A&M was 0 for 10 from 3-point range, and yet you were only down by 3. You were in a pretty good spot.
You were.
They had a chance to win that game.
Yep. Let's do this. I want to get into some baseball stats that Ethan sent me, but Sutton's on hold. He wants to talk a little bit about the college playoff format, and let's go to the hotline. We're joined by Sutton. Sutton, good morning, buddy.
Mm-hmm. 2 automatic qualifiers for the Big 12 and 2 automatic qualifiers for the ACC. And I was sitting here thinking about if you're the third team in the SEC, that means you don't have to go most likely and play in the SEC championship game, so you get a week off more than your competition. You most likely will have a home game that first playoff game. And so can these automatic qualifiers, do you think that they could really hurt the champions of these leagues? Let's just say, take, for example, the Big 12. They're going to have their top 2 teams playing for the Big 12 championship, but both of those teams are automatically qualified for the 2026 football playoff. And so I just, when we're talking about resting players and having players ready for the big game, does the big game no longer be the championship, the conference championship, and totally move to a 12, 14, or 16-team playoff?
Yeah, in basketball, I have talked to coaches before, not multiple coaches, that have said, like in the SEC, it was not just SEC, in conference tournament, we want to win one game and get out.
Right.
So I'm not necessarily playing my starters the way I normally would, because I know I'm in the tournament. I don't care about getting the SEC tournament. What I think what Sutton's on to something there.
Do they do away with the conference championships then?
Yeah, I think you're trending that way, but which I think is unfortunate. So my position's always been the conference champion is the only automatic bid. Now let's be realistic. 3-4 teams from the SEC
are getting. Yeah.
Almost every year we're going to get it anyway, but only one gets an automatic bid, and that's the champion. Make your conference championship mean something.
Well, and here's another thing, which it almost takes away from that, but it doesn't necessarily. One of the things that Ross Dellinger was reporting yesterday was that they want to do a double bye for the top 2 teams from the SEC and from the Big Ten.
See,
I understand the champion, but not both.
So you're going to tell me that one team has to win, in theory, 3, maybe 4 games to win a national championship.
Right.
And another team only has to win 2. How does that make any sense?
It doesn't.
You should have 16 teams.
And they're talking about that still being an option. Go ahead, Sutton.
In an era where everything is motivated by money, I just don't see these conference commissioners giving up the SEC championship game, the Big Ten championship game, especially when the Big Ten championship game is on another network. So that's on Fox and CBS, right? The playoff is going to be most likely all on the ESPN. And each one of those conference championship games are money makers for the conference because all of that money is retained by the conference. Right. So I just don't see what they're proposing actually becoming when rubber meets the road, and it's like, how much money can we make out of this scenario versus this scenario? If they kill the conference championships, I think that hurts the conference.
I agree. Here's what I do. Again, only a conference champion, and I'm going to shout it down by the SEC. Everybody in the SEC always wants a mulligan, but only the conference champion gets an automatic bid, and only a conference champion can get a bye.
I like it.
So you may feel like you're the second best team.
Thanks, Sutton.
You may feel like you're the second best team in the country, but you lost your championship game. So you can't get a bid. And what this does is, once again, you can't get a bye. What this does is, once again, it makes your conference championship valuable. It makes it matter.
Yep, 1,000%. Great question, Sutton. Let's hit a break. We're going to come back with some baseball stats, get into the combine a little bit, some other football stuff. Milliken Reserve is a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces, and their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. I could see you hanging out in Milliken Reserve, OB. You seem like a guy who's into animals and like nature.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I've already talked to the owners over there.
Your mic's not on for some reason. I don't know why. There we go.
If I could ever afford a 10-acre tract there, or anywhere for that matter, they said I could put giraffes out there.
You can't put giraffes.
They said if I'd buy a 10-acre.
Is that legal in the United States?
Yeah.
You can have giraffes in the backyard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should do that then.
There's a guy just down the road that has zebras.
Zebras. I've seen that one on the way to Austin, right? Yeah.
Yeah. See, it's a giraffe is nothing but a different colored zebra with a long neck.
I think they're completely different.
Just a long neck and a different pattern.
What does that have to do with Milliken Reserve? Oh, you would put it there.
I'd put a zebra out there too.
As you absolutely should. They've got an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape where OB can go walking with Irma every night. They got equestrian pass where OB again can get on the horses. They got creeks, they got ponds, they got gathering areas. They are committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat. Go hiking. You like to go hiking?
I like to hike.
You like to go biking?
I like to go biking.
Do you like to go canoeing? Never done it.
I have canoed and I like it.
Kayaking.
Yeah, it's canoeing.
And we know you like equestrian. Oh, okay, here's one. Evening yoga.
I've done yoga before.
Okay.
I could do something right now.
Summer camps.
Well, I was a kid that I did summer camp.
Music festivals.
I like music.
Farmers markets.
I like to eat. I like farmers.
Yeah, you do.
Farmers fight.
Farmers fight. Farmers fight. MillikenReserve.com. MillikenReserve.com. Not going to Carolina. They're going to Georgia. Or Arlington.
Is that Corey Morrow? I'm trying to
Good old Corey Morrow.
Identify that voice. It sounds familiar. But
hey, we're TexAgs Radio.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelry.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. We are in the Rollo Insurance
It says
studio.
so right there on the wall.
And it's the Go Hour.
Yes, it is.
Which stands for Gabe and Olin.
It did.
Oh, now it means we're just going.
We're just going.
We're just going.
We go for it.
Presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. It could have been the No Hour, which for some people, no Nuño for me. There was at that time, or it could be the Do Hour.
Do Hour?
Yeah, David and Olin. Do.
Do, yeah.
Do, 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 do.
Do, do, do. Yeah.
You know who sang that song?
No.
Frank Stallone.
Oh, okay.
Take Me Back.
Yeah.
In fact, if we can hear that on the way back, I'd really appreciate it, Sean. Let's talk about
Sylvester's brother.
Yeah, or Frank. Yeah, Sylvester wants to be more like Frank. I mean, obviously,
Well, wasn't he one of the guys in Rocky that's around the fire and the trash cans?
Yeah.
Okay.
I interviewed Frank Stallone once.
Did you?
Just randomly, just because I wanted to.
Okay.
On the radio show.
How'd that go?
It was good. He was like, "Why do you want to interview me?" It's like, "Because you're Sylvester's brother." Good times. And I also interviewed the fake Willie Ames. You remember Willie Ames from Eight Is Enough?
Yeah,
he won't know who that is.
Curly-headed guy.
So there's they actually told this story the other day on Houston radio on Sean Pendergast on 610 with Seth Payne. So years ago when I was at 1560, I was getting booking random interviews, just because I already met. And I looked up Willie Ames, found his contact info, but this was a banjo player. A band, not the Willie Ames. So Sean Pendergast interviewed this Willie Ames as if he were the Willie Ames from Eight Is Enough and from Charles in Charge. And the guy got so frustrated during the interview. He goes, "But tell me about Scott Baio. And, tell me about Nicholas Bradford." And the guy's like, "I am not that Nick Willie." And it was classic radio.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So good times. All right, let's get into this baseball team. So Ethan Jones does a lot of stats for us. He's breaking down some stats for us. Here's A&M's offense has been one of the best, if not the best in the nation. This has not been just due to a handful of players. Instead, the whole batting order 1 to 9. So the team batting average so far, 372, 4th in the nation. Runs per game, 11.6 9th. Home runs, 18 10th. Slugging percentage, 678 3rd. Base on balls, 64, which for 8th. There is one person, he says, that is standing out statistically. His name is
Jace Lavalette.
Top 10 in the nation in RBIs with 18, 6 in homers with 6, second in slugging percentage. And it is shown, here's one. 9 of the 10 players who've had at least 2 plate appearances per game have a 300 batting average. 4 of those players are batting 400 or higher. Is that good, Olin Buchanan?
From what I know about baseball, that's pretty good.
I may save some of these for the baseball bunch to throw them, but I'm going to keep going some offensive numbers here. 10 Aggies have hit at least 1 home run this season. They played 8 games. That seems like a good number. A&M has 16 players with at least 1 RBI, 6 with at least 5 RBI, and 3 with over 10.
The baseball sage Ryan Brauninger told us it was going to be this way.
He did say that. All 10 Aggies with at least 2 plate appearances per game have at least an 800 on-base slugging percentage, and 8 of these players have an on-base plus slugging percentage of over 1,000. All 17 players within that bat have scored a run this season. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and see, if the numbers are even similar to that come Monday or Tuesday,
then we're going to be feeling good.
Then I'm going to be really feeling good about it.
Last stat I want to read to you. All 10 Aggies with at least 2 plate appearances per game have a strikeout rate lower than 30%, with 6 of them having a strikeout rate lower than 20%. Así me gusta. That's how I like it.
Yeah. See.
Word.
Senor.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Jackson, I know you've got some combine tidbits for us.
I do. So a couple Aggies kicked off the start of the combine yesterday. Edrin Cooper had a huge day at the combine. What?
Coop.
I thought you said who. I was going to say Ed.
Coop.
Yeah. He finished the day with an overall prospect grade of 6.28, and he also ran one of the fastest 40-yard dash times amongst the linebackers in the combine.
4.52.
4.52.
I saw 4.51, but okay. 4.5.
Let's round down. Let's go 4.51. Let's just say it because you said it.
Just say, but I mean, for a 230 probably plus linebacker, that's crazy fast.
Now, this is where I see these numbers, like the broad jump and the vertical jump. They seem high because I can't even stand on a chair and get that high. But I don't know how that rates. But the broad jump 9.10, vertical jump 34.5.
Yeah. Is that I'm assuming that's a standing broad jump.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep. And I know you've got some McKinley Jackson updates for us.
Yeah, McKinley Jackson ended the day with
they're saying 10 inches on a standing broad. It was 9 feet 10 inches.
9 feet 10 inches.
Yeah, I was gonna say 10 inches. Anybody can.
Which, by the way, talking about broad jumps, McKinley Jackson had a pretty impressive broad jump for a defensive tackle.
Pretty impressive hair.
Yeah, also impressive hair.
Good.
But he ended the day with an overall prospect grade of 5.96, and he ran a 5.27 40-yard dash. 5.26, and had like I said, an 8.10 broad jump. And then he's currently listed as the 15th ranked defensive tackle in production, 18th in athleticism, and 19th in total scores for defensive tackles.
See, I believe my beloved Dallas Cowboys, and yet beleaguered, could go a long way, not completely fix their problems, but go a long way in fixing their defensive problems. They just drafted 2 Aggies.
Yeah, I agree.
Those 2.
Hey, can you put that picture back up, Matthew, for me, please? Matthew Dawson's working the director's chair. You just look at that picture right there. You look at McKinley Jackson. You see physically, OB, an NFL player. You just look at him and you know. Like, if you saw him walking around the mall, if you saw him, obviously, anywhere, you'd be like, that dude plays NFL football.
With that hair, he kind of looks like the Predator.
There is a little bit of that. I was more thinking about the gun show and just the physique. He's huge.
Yeah, big old guy.
Big old dude. We got some guys going today and tomorrow, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Damani Richardson will go through position drills today, starting at 11, with the rest of the defensive backs. Anais Smith and the rest of the wide receivers will go through position drills on Saturday, starting at 9 a.m. Central, and then Layden Robinson and the rest of the offensive linemen will go through position drills on Sunday, starting at 9 a.m. as well.
I'm excited about it.
I'm really interested, like I said earlier, in what 40 time Anais is going to run. I think that's always been the thing. That's the question is, how fast is he?
Yeah.
Even though he never looked slow to me like on those punt returns.
No.
But man, he's so shifty. He's just, again, he's a good football player.
Shifty, understanding space and angles. Like, of course, we all want blazing speed, right? I mean, Devon A-Chain's speed. There's a reason that guy just burst through.
Right.
But when you understand space, angles, timing, it sometimes makes the difference between an okay player to a great player.
Yeah, I see Anais being, in some ways, like an old Dallas Cowboy receiver, Cole Beasley, coming out as a slot receiver that's hard to cover because he has that burst. But the difference is once he catches it, he can do really amazing things with the football because he's so shifty and understands avoiding pursuit angles and all those things.
Yeah. Before we hit a break, because we do need to hit a break to get in a couple things, bank on it, and what else Around Aggieland we have to have next. It came out during the show yesterday. You didn't have a chance to comment on it. It's not anything really to comment on, but the SEC Media Day schedules came out. And our buddy Mike Elko going to be going on the last day, Thursday, July 18th, there in the Metroplex.
I always hate it when A&M's on the last day.
Because we got to stay.
Well, I got to write columns, and if it's the first day, I can get enough information to write an A&M column every day.
Right.
So I guess there will be a Texas column one day, and then just have to work a little harder.
So let me give you the scheduled people for July the 18th, Thursday, July the 18th. Sam Pittman, Hugh Freeze, your buddy Mark Stoops, and Mike Elko. That's the Thursday, the last day.
All right. Well, everybody, I guess I'll be driving my own car up there because nobody's going to be wanting to wait around for me to finish my column.
Do we usually wait for you? Yeah, we wait.
Well, there's not a lot of. Yeah. There's not a lot of.
I'm a little interested.
We're all going to the airport, right? So
yeah, I'm interested in how it's going to work in Dallas because of typically Mobile, everything's kind of close. Or not Mobile. I'm sorry, Hoover. Sorry, Hoover. Yeah. And also last year in Nashville, everything was walkable. Yeah. I don't know, I forget where they're doing it in Dallas. Do you remember what hotel?
I don't know.
It's at the Omni.
Yeah, at the Omni. Is there anything close by to the Omni? I don't think so.
Market
Center, walkable?
Yeah, it's not. It's not Hoover, but But yeah.
The Omni's right by Marcus Center, right? Or am I getting this wrong?
Yes.
Okay. So
I don't know.
That's a good conversation. Let's hit a break. We'll come back with Around Aggieland and bank on it. Right now, Heritage Films time. That's Chance McClain's company, yourheritagefilm.com. Let's get a documentary done about family life, family living, family ranch, family business, your grandfather. Let's tell the family story. Let's get it on video so the rest of your family can know it, and really know it. And we're talking about not only the kids and the grandkids and beyond, but people who care for you, your cousins, your nephews. Everybody can benefit from a heritage film out there that just tells the family story. It's like a Facebook memory. It's like a DNA test, except it's like you get to see it live. Okay, maybe that's not the right comparison, but you feel what I'm saying. You get to tell your family story and keep it for generation after generation. They also have the Year Flicks option, which I think is really cool for the younger people like Jackson Moss, right? You get to college, your first day at TexAgs. You can tell these stories in 20-minute Q&A, green screen style. Then a couple years when you graduate, you get another story, you get engaged, and then you have this 4-part story, all Q&A style from the Year Flicks, which is really a cool thing to do. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It's Heritage Films. my jam right here, OB.
Yeah, I know it is.
You don't like it?
I don't dislike it. It would not be on my playlist.
It's not on my playlist, but when I hear it, it takes me to
jam.
It's my jam, but I'm not going to work out to it. Take Me Back, Do to You. What do you know about that song?
Not a lot. I don't have my ears in. But
You just watched Rocky within the last year, right?
That was probably a year ago.
Yeah, it's one of the songs from Rocky. Take Me Back, Do. Take Me Back. I used to do a segment on radio called Take Me Back, Do. We go back in history. Maybe I should bring that back and get canceled on the show. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We do need to do two things quickly. We need to do Bank On It, presented by Vera Bank, authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more. VeraBank.com. What are you banking on?
I'm banking on those big hitting Aggies to show that all that power that they've demonstrated early is not because they were playing overmatched pitchers, because they're just that good, and that they're going to go out and hit a lot of home runs this weekend too.
I like it.
I'm
banking on Ryan Brauninger. So week 1 or game 1, he struck out 9. Last week he struck out 10. I'm saying he's going to strike out 8 tonight. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, I think you're being conservative, but okay.
Well, I'm doing this so if it goes above, I get even happier. Around Aggieland time, brought to you by Norman G. State Bank. Norman G. State Bank, rock solid. I said that weird. Norman G. State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normangstatebank.com. Kay Naegeli.
All right, let's start off with some baseball. Y'all were just talking about it. But the number 7 Aggies will leave Bluebell Park to head to Globe Life. They will face Arizona State and USC. Arizona State will be tonight. That is on Flow Sports. I believe it is a subscription thing, but I think you can do a little free trial, get out of it within 48-ish hours.
I've heard you got to be careful with that, though.
Yeah, Braunie was saying that some of the subscriptions, so make sure if you do that, you're aware of the times and things like that. But if you missed it, Schlossnagel announced his pitching rotation. Ryan Brauninger tonight will start. David's pretty high on him. Saturday is Tanner Jones, and then Sunday is Justin Lampkin. So best of luck to the Aggies.
I'm just going to follow everything on TexAgs. I'm going to follow the TexAgs thread. That's
Richard Zane does a great job. Braunie, they'll all be there. Yeah, I feel like you can see the game through the.
You really can.
Yeah, he's very good at it.
Ideally, we do both, right?
Yeah.
You got the game on.
But if there's a problem,
provide some commentary, all of that.
I haven't asked the Angry Elephant, but I'm assuming the game will be on there. So there's that.
Moving on to some softball, Emily Kennedy was brilliant again in the circle as the number 18 Texas A&M Aggies opened the Judy Garman Classic with a 6-0 victory over Michigan. And then in the Aggies' second game on Thursday, the Aggies bludgeoned Long Beach State with a 6-inning run rule, 16-7.
Do they call the softball team the Dirtbags as well?
I haven't heard that.
Their baseball team's the Dirtbags. They call them the Dirtbags.
Interesting.
Is that right?
Long Beach.
Huh, I did not know that.
So I wonder if the
wonder what the equivalent there
lady Dirtbags.
The Lady Bags.
We'll have to look
Lady
that
Bags.
up for you.
The Lady Bags.
That actually sounds probably something I can't say on
Worse.
radio. Yeah, go ahead.
They will play 2 games today, beginning with Weber State at 5 p.m., and then they will play Cal State Fullerton at 9:30 p.m. That's a late one that will be streamed on ESPN+. Moving over to some basketball, the Aggies had their 5th consecutive loss, and their NCAA dreams are now on life support as South Carolina just came in. And it was a rough one, 70-68. And then according to Joe Lunardi's bracketology, they are the first team in the next 4 out category. They have 3 games remaining at Georgia, and then versus Mississippi State, and then at Ole Miss.
If they win the 3, then maybe they still don't get in.
Maybe.
They got to keep winning.
Barring a major run in the SEC tournament.
Just can't lose.
And then, unfortunately, we do have some women's basketball news, and they also lost last night, and their postseason dreams are
fading,
getting shaky. So
yeah, unfortunately for them. Oh, thank you, Kay.
Of course.
And let me read this real quick. Both of you guys can chime in on this. There was a message that came on the chat, and let me see if I can find it. It says, there's a wild stat out there. There are more tigers in America than their native habitats, and that's from OB talking about Giraffes, right? So I Googled it. How many tigers are there in the USA? Tigers don't roam wild in the U.S., but their captivity numbers in the country is estimated at 5,000, larger than the total global wild tiger population. India's got the most in the world at almost 3,000.
You can't have too many tigers. That's what I always say.
Like the Consol tigers?
Sure, but I mean, real tigers. I like tigers.
I like tigers too.
Yeah,
like Tony Montana.
Cool animal.
Tony Montana had one.
Yeah.
Okay, you still haven't seen Scarface, right?
No.
Tiger Woods.
They are the Dirtbags, by the way.
Oh.
Looked it up.
They call them
the softball team.
The Lady Dirtbags.
We'll be back with Mark French. Bye. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. As a reminder, I'm going to remind you guys a lot today. We're going to be at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm. Hopefully you guys can come hang out with us, 5 to 7 Q&A and meet and greet and Aggie sports in the background, all sports in the background. It'll be a fun time. I'd like to hear from you. Who's coming? Let me know on the text line. If you're listening there in the Metroplex, you can make it out there, and maybe on the YouTube page or potentially on the TexAgs.com or Twitter, whatever. I just want to know if you're coming. It'd be great. It'd be really lonely if I'm by myself because Billy will be a few minutes late. Just kidding, Billy. Just kidding. Let's right now go to the hotline. Mark French lives in the Metroplex. Are we going to see you this weekend, Mark?
I will be there, guys. I'm looking forward to it. Dalton sent me a text last week and filled me in. So I don't know if I'll be there right at the start, but me and a buddy are going to head up north to Little Elm and meet y'all there.
Good, man. Party time. You know I'm a great partier. I party hard, bro. Water.
I think me and you are on the same page when it comes to a lot of that.
Hey, I don't know how I want to phrase this because, like, I'm not here to hurt feelings, but I'm also at a point, like, are we at turn the page yet, Mark? Because it feels like we kind of are, but there is a glimmer of hope still because if you go 9-9, which is a big if at this point, the way they're playing, and you do okay in the tournament, maybe you get in, maybe not, but is it turn the page?
No, I think this team has enough cachet and enough skins on the wall if they were to win these, last 3 games, get to 9-9 in conference. I think they'd have a shot at getting in. I think it would probably require a win or 2 in the SEC tournament. But I just look at how many quad 1 wins they have. It's quite remarkable. So they're at 5 or 6 quad 1 wins, and obviously we've discussed the quad 3 losses. But the reality is that it may not have happened exactly how it's not linear. But there is a world in which Texas A&M wins these next 3 games, and maybe a game or 2 in Nashville, and then sneaks in. And so I'm still hopeful. I don't think it's time to turn the page at all. And that South Carolina team, obviously we hate to lose, especially in that fashion, but that's a really good team. You look at the turnaround they've had, this year, and where they sit, and they're at the top of the standings. They're 11-1 in conference, right behind Tennessee and Alabama. And so it's been a really tough stretch for the Aggies in terms of just scheduling. And they haven't given up. They're playing hard. Obviously, Tennessee game notwithstanding, there's still some moments where you're like, oh dang, is it about to happen? Are they about to go on a little tear here? And so I'm cautiously optimistic. It would probably be the verbiage I'd use.
Yeah. See, I'm not there. I'm going to be very honest with you.
Yeah.
Just because all season long, other than some, of course they have some big, they have some studs, right? Like and these are players that we're going to love forever. Anderson Garcia is going to go down as one of those guys we talk about. Wade, Boots, right? Henry. There's a lot of dudes on this team that we're going to talk about the way we talk about some of the legends that have played here before. My thing is the consistency, and I don't have the schedule in front of me, but like, I know in SEC play, I think their best run was 3 straight wins, right? I think that was their best run. So,
yeah, 3.
Yeah. How can they do better than that? It's the end of the season. I don't think they can.
Right. Yeah, so if you go back, after the Ole Miss loss at home, they beat Florida by 1, Missouri by 19 at their place, and then that was the big Tennessee win at home, the number 6. When they were number 6. So that was our second win against the top 6 team in a matter of 3 weeks. And so at that point in the season, you're like, dang, all right, they're about to catch fire. You got at Vandy, you can get to 4 in a row. And then Bama, Arkansas split those. Tennessee, South Carolina, try to split those. So we were doing that whole thing, right? And so I completely understand where you're coming from. You asked if there's any hope or should we turn the page. I don't think it's time to turn the page. And I do think there's one last little glimmer here where they could, go beat Georgia, and then let's regroup with a big game coming up against Mississippi State. So I'm not ready to turn the page quite yet, to answer your question. But yeah, 3 in a row is the most they've won. Really, the turning point in the season, in my opinion, was probably that Vanderbilt loss on the road. because that would have been 4 in a row and give you a little bit of wiggle room and forward momentum.
Talking to Mark French here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Look, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the room. Currently, I am in this room because there's nobody else in here. But I've told you for a while, I really like when Manny Obaske's out there. I understand some of the reasons that he doesn't play because he can be erratic at times. He's kind of like Solo in that respect. Like he can just, like, you don't know what you're going to get. The good is super good. But, like, I think he made a huge difference in that game, man. Tell me what you saw from Manny, and do you expect to see more Manny?
I mean, if he's going to be that efficient, right, 3 of 4 from the field, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 11 points. The key with Manny is you circle the assist to turnover ratio, and that'll pretty much tell it to you, right? And so when he plays out of control, it's hard. It's hard to play him, even as athletic as he is. But when he's on, it's like, wait, is this Boots but with more athleticism? You know, they kind of got the lefty drive, and they're a little sporadic, but they're can be efficient. And so I think in the big time games, right, if you go back and look where we need to match athlete for athlete, Manny's a great option. And so he's still learning. He's still in development mode even in year 3. And you know, I like Manny a lot, and I think a lot of it's just, can he play under control? Can he learn how to play off 2 feet? Can the jumper improve, you know, heading into this offseason? But for the rest of this season, can he take those spot up threes and be able to hit, you know, put those in or hit rim at least? And so he's an enigma, just like Solo in many instances. Solo also had a good game, Nuño, and obviously had the 4 fouls, but 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 offensive. You know, we didn't hit the boards as good as we have offensively. And part of that is credit to South Carolina. They're super well coached and they're tough and all those good things. But, yeah, Solo and Manny, those are kind of your two. If they're both on, it can be really fun. And so I was really happy, especially that free throw clip. You know, I want to start seeing more consistency shooting-wise, not just for Manny, but across the whole team. And that's a really good sign.
Talking to Mark French here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. So, Wade, better performance, but he's still not the Wade that we're accustomed to. Some of that is beyond his control, I believe. Some of it is probably in his head a little bit too, right? Like when defenses know to beat A&M offensively, you just put everything on Wade Taylor and make him have to pass the ball, right? It's hard for him to get going. And I think because he's been in a little bit of a funk scoring-wise, you know, his three-point shot was obviously not on the other night. Just what do you see with Wade's game? Are there signs of optimism, or are there signs of what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's totally signs of optimism. I mean, he had a 15, 4, and 3 stat line, and, you know, most guys, that's one of their best games of the season at this level. And so it speaks to who he is as a player, because if you go 0 of 7 from 3, you know, if he hits 2 of 7, right, or if he just goes 2 of 7, he's got 21 points. And, you know, that little facade of, wait, is he even back yet, is not even there. And so, you know, 4 of 14 from the field, 0 of 7 from 3, but he was 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Again, I look at that turnover column, and he had 0 turnovers, right? So 4 to 0 assist to turnover. Anything over 3, you're an elite guard. Really, probably over 4, you're borderline elite. And so, look, guys, I know Wade gets all the headlines, and I know that, as he should, as the SEC preseason player of the year, and he'll probably be an All-American again this year. He deserves all that. But it's really hard when, you know, the rest of the team, you know, combined goes 2 of 10 from 3 if you take out Wade's 3. So it's just hard for him with the spacing. It's an uphill battle until guys can come and step up and hit some shots. Talking
to Mark French here, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, I don't know if I want you to defend the offense, or just tell me your perspective of it. But John Puglisi, who's a contributor to this show sometimes, tweeted out, this is year 5 of the same thing offensively with the best backcourt they've had. Early in the year, great individual offensive effort covered up by a lot of weaknesses. When you see this offense, is it the same offense we've seen the last 4 or 5 years? Or is it this is the best that we can do with the kind of personnel that we have?
Yeah, it's a valid question. I think when Buzz first got here, right, he was mimicking a lot of the stuff he did at Marquette and Virginia Tech, which was the 4 out, 1 in, right? So think my year, we had Nebo in the middle, and then we'd play 4, what Buzz called midgets. So there wasn't another power forward or center on the floor. It was just all guards surrounding Nebo, right? And I think since that time, because of their ability to go get guys like Henry Coleman, Andy Garcia, at one point Julius Marble, there was this shift offensively to kind of a 2 big lineup, which coincided with the need within the SEC to go beat. The games are won on the offensive glass and the defensive glass. And so I think you saw Buzz and the staff shift to, let's get 2 bigs out there, and then we'll figure it out from there. And so that's what you've seen from the last 5 years. And I think there is, some tweaks I would love to see offensively. I think mainly it comes down to just recruiting guys who can put the ball in the hole a little bit better. And I think the staff's more than capable of being creative and doing that. I've lived it. I've seen it. And so I am hopeful, for the tweaks as they get into, hopefully into postseason play, and then hopefully some tweaks can happen between today and moving forward. But even into the off season as they evaluate everything, you got some good guard. You've had really good guard play the last couple of years, which is exciting, right? That's something A&M fans bemoaned for many, many years, right? Was, oh, they're just good on the inside, or they have DJ Hogue, right? And they don't have the guards aren't always up to par, especially at the point guard position, right? And so now you got an All-American point guard, but we're kind of missing shooting. And so really it's about kind of piecing this whole thing together. And, I think it's a really important off season, and it's really important close to the year here to try to figure some stuff out. And really it comes down to guys stepping up. Hefner's got to hit some shots. Boots can't go 1 of 6 from 3. Jace Carter, 0 of 2 from 3 the other night for 4 points. The consistency, we've highlighted him a couple times. And so overall, yeah, I think schematically there's some tweaks that can happen, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes putting the ball in the hoop. And I think that's one thing that is irreplaceable in today's game is you can, have as many offensive rebounds as you want, or you can turn the ball over at a smaller clip, Nuño. But, if you can't hit threes at a clip that's at least semi kind of middle of the pack in the country, it just makes it really hard. And so that's, I think, kind of the goal for A&M needs to be, how can we find guys who can make shots? Because everything else is there. And a lot of times the shots are there. We don't hit them. And, I think we're 349th in 3-point shooting percentage. And yet we shoot, I think, 20 a game or something like that on average, which is upper quarter for the country. And so really it's just finding guys who can put the ball in the hoop, I think, is a long-winded way of saying it.
Talking to Mark French here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk a little defense, because when the defense is on point, look, I always expect the effort from a Buzz Williams team. I expect effort just because these guys, that's how they train. That's part of what they do. But I feel at times the intensity has not been there defensively. What have you seen defensively that makes you think that there's maybe something they can do differently, or this is who they are?
Yeah, for me, defensively, I'm fine with the effort. Obviously, Tennessee game at their place notwithstanding, the effort's been good. I think for me, it's another small tweak, just encouraging the 3-point line, encouraging, kind of filtering it to the 3-point line, the opposing team's offense, kind of encouraging them to shoot a lot of, semi-open or contested threes. Schematically, I think in today's game, there has been a lot of change over the last 5 years. And I think that's one thing that the staff's always constantly evaluating. And I think that'd be one thing that probably gets brought up. And I know it gets brought up amongst the fan base. And so I don't want to hide from that or defend it. But I just think, yeah, schematically, I would take a hard look at, are we inviting the other team to shoot too many threes that have a good probability of being a good shot, And because when teams are hitting threes, it kind of breaks the camel's back, right? And so especially in today's game where that's kind of the whole focus of another team's offense in many instances, let's be dialed in. Let's be dialed in and try to find ways to maybe prohibit a little bit less of that.
Talking to Mark French. All right, Mark, let's close up with a couple of thoughts on how this can play out, right? I know that you are still somewhat optimistic, or at least they have it in them. What is the recipe? What's the game plan? What's the mindset? I think it has to be every game is a playoff game for this team to still have any kind of outside chance to make the tournament.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. At this point, there's no more room for wiggle. After the Alabama game, there was room for wiggle. Because you thought, all right, Arkansas at home, try to split Tennessee, Carolina, and then maybe win out or go 2-1 in those last three. And so we're at the point now where you're 15-13, you're 6-9 in conference. You can still get to 500 in conference. And if you did that, you'd be 18-13. Your net would probably move up, hopefully into the low 50s, high 40s. And you kind of hope that you get to Nashville and you win a game or two and you sneak in as a slightly higher seed, and then you get a good matchup and you try to win a game, try to win a couple games. I think that's very much in front of them. But again, you got to win 3 in a row, which is something we've only done one time this season. And so I think the mentality is it is a playoff game every single night. And, offensively, we gotta find a way to make some shots. If we're gonna go on a run, you got to get hot offensively, right? And sometimes A&M's offense actually starts on the defensive end, if that makes sense, in terms of how hard are we playing? Are we getting turnovers? Are we limiting their offensive rebounds? And then as we do that, that allows Boots, Wade, Solo, Manny to get out kind of on the break and have a little bit of pace to what we do. Because in the half court, sometimes it feels not stagnant, but it just seems like we're a little bit more explosive when we are in that kind of secondary transition break, and Wade and Boots are kind of maneuvering and probing and trying to find ways to get downhill. And it just kind of tilts the floor in a way that moves into our favor, if that makes sense. And so, yeah, I think that's what we need to do offensively. Defensively, we got to play like our heads on fire, find ways to contest three-point shots better. And so just really key in on assist to turnover ratio, offensive rebounding, and then obviously the 3-point difference. So like South Carolina made 8 threes the other night, we made 2. So we're already starting at a 6-point difference just from there. And so it's just really tough sledding, and the margins are so thin. We've talked about this. And so Wade's going to have to be heroic. Boots is going to have to continue to do what he does, and then we got to find a third guy. Hopefully it's Jace Carter. Last night or 2 nights ago it was Manny Obaski. So find another third guard that can get into double figures. So I'm really rooting for him, Nuño. I think it'd be a great story. I think it'd be great for Boots and for Wade and for all these guys to go through this and then kind of come out on the other side.
I appreciate you, Mark. I'll see you tomorrow, brother.
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.
Mark French there on the hotline. Appreciate his time. All right, we'll hit a break. I'm clapping on the table. We're knocking on it. When we come back, the baseball bunch, remainder of the hour, baseball. All right, we'll do some baseball with the baseball bunch. We'll do some Liucci at the 10 o'clock hour. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell, or if you want to look for them right now, go online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. When you go there, you're going to see a lot of the vehicles that they have and the pricing points. You can kind of get a feel for it, right? You'll get to see all the selection from the Tahoes, all the Chevy, all the things that they have, the pre-owned, the new ones. It's a great place to go because It's kind of like a small town feel, but they're delivering big time, right? They deliver to you big time with great pricing, great trade-in value, and of course, an awesome team that gets it all done there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. I highly recommend that you go check it out, and you will be very pleased with what you see there from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. When you go there, just know that the customer service is going to be exquisite, if that's even the right word to use there. It's just going to be great. And you're going to come away thinking, man, I wish I would have bought my other cars from there. And when you go, you'll become a repeat customer because that's what Aggies do. They love Aggie athletics there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They've been doing it for a long, long time. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Hey, everybody. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the baseball bunch. People have been clamoring. They need their baseball. Scott Clendenin in the house. Ryan Brauninger, Richard Zane. Hi, friends.
Let's talk some baseball.
Baseball?
Let's talk some baseball.
It's great to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for making the joke longer. A lot of people were disappointed that we spent 26 minutes on basketball.
26?
Yeah.
Seemed like the whole first hour.
Interesting. We did the first segment. And let's play this game. Let's play. I like this, Bronny. There's still a theoretical chance for them to get in the tournament. We spent the first segment of each hour on it and then another segment. And we did a whole segment on baseball stats. Thanks for listening. Did you like those stats?
We had some very heated exchanges going on in the back, hypothetical situations that Kay Naegeli asked the group, would you rather live the rest of your life? Kay Naegeli thought of this. This is crazy that this is how her mind works, by the way. Really cute that her and Olin dressed alike. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
no, I don't like good people.
Grandpa, grandfather, granddaughter kind of thing. It's kind of cute. Anyway.
Great-grandfather. Oh, yeah, they are the same.
Would you rather spend the rest of your life eating all your food and drinking all your beverages cold, hot, or lukewarm?
Hot.
You're crazy.
Okay, I'm crazy.
You're disgusting.
Okay, we're
You're
different
a
humans.
psycho.
Yeah.
We've known this.
Okay.
I think you are for not living.
You're going to drink hot water.
Warm.
No. It's not. That's not a parameter. It's hot.
You're going to eat cold beef?
I pick lukewarm. Everything lukewarm.
Oh, I'll take lukewarm. That's fine.
That's right. That's what normal people would think.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't want lukewarm coffee.
So that's why I wasn't listening to your baseball statistics.
You know what I love is that anytime we don't talk baseball, this is Scott.
He's prepared.
He's the real baseball bunch guy.
He's got stapled packets and all kind of stuff. We just show and go.
That's because you got stapled packets all week.
You just took a shot at him. Huh? That was a shot.
How do you mean?
You say
he's prepared. What? Taking a shot? I said he's prepared.
Yeah, but this is easy for me.
No. I said we show and go. We're ill prepared.
Thoughts on where we're headed, Scotty? First road trip, how things have started as you ramp up against competition.
Well, I wish that USC was playing better baseball. I wish that Arizona State was pitching a little better. Maybe you get a top 25 team to play. It's an advantage and disadvantage for them that they see two top 5 teams in TCU and A&M when they play. But it's you get to go to the big stadium. The formatting is what it is, and we heard this week about why it is that way. But it really doesn't matter. You get to go on the road. You get to play in a big stadium. It's the third week in a row that college baseball is playing in Arlington and is had some focus up there. And I like that for the game. And, I think that this is trending in the right direction. Not going to have a weather problem. That's good, even though it looks like the weather would have been nice anyway. I like the fact that they have a chance to go play two traditionally well-respected and well-known teams that people around college baseball are going to look and see what Arizona State and USC do against A&M and TCU this week.
Bronny?
Similar. I think Arizona State's pretty good. The kid that A&M's going to see tonight is got really good stuff. He's a true freshman. He'll be making his third start. And I talked a little bit earlier this week this is a good challenge for A&M. It'll be the best arm they've seen. And Arizona State really struggles in the bullpen. That's where their pitching numbers really balloon is whenever you get into their bullpen. So pretty good prep for SEC play. Going to have a big-time starter. How early can we run him out of the game? Doesn't mean you have to score runs. Can we elevate pitch counts? Can we make him have to pitch in stressful situations to get him out of the game earlier and maybe get to that bullpen late? On the flip side, this will be the toughest lineup that Ryan Brauninger has faced. They're aggressive swingers, and they slug. They can really, really hit. I know Jim Schlossnagle talked about it in his press conference this week. I went and have been watching some of the Arizona State stuff. Really big and athletic, impressive-looking lineup. So this offensively, I don't know that Arizona State's going to take a backseat to many teams in the SEC. They're going to really be able to swing it. So A&M, we've seen them win some really low-scoring tight ball games with a north wind. We've also seen them win games where they are the aggressors and they put up big offensive numbers, but we have not seen them play a slugfest where it's crooked number in the top half and then you got to go put up a crooked number in the bottom half just to match it. So this is all good. At some point, me and Scotty were talking actually softball stats during the break, but the game is going to come back to bite you. Not everybody's going to hit 400 all year. You're not going to have success with runners in scoring position at the rate that Gavin Grahovic has this year. I think he's hitting 770 with runners in scoring position. Crazy numbers. At some point, the game's going to even itself out. You hope it doesn't all happen at once to everybody in the lineup, but this is a good test. It's closer to the SEC watermark in terms of overall talent, and as Scotty said, it's your first time to go on the road. You're going to learn a lot more about this team this week.
Richard?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they both summed it up. But I mean, they used every word in the English language to sum it up.
But Richard, also tack on Texas on Tuesday at the end of this.
Yeah, I mean that's where things are going to get interesting, right? Because you're going to play 5 games in 6 days, and you're gonna have to see these bullpen arms, all of them, the ones we've seen once, the ones we haven't seen yet, because we haven't even seen guys like Eldridge Armstrong pitch. You've only seen Isaac Morton once or twice. You're going to see all of these guys this weekend and into this week. So this week, not only this weekend with the uptick in competition, but then you got to go to Texas, really hostile environment against the best team you've played all year so far, and then you got to turn back around and do it on Wednesday as well against Texas Southern. But you're going to see a lot of depth. You're going to see pretty much everybody on this roster play over the next 6 days.
You're going to expend a lot of energy, physical and mental energy, with a road trip, your first one of the season. How's that going to be managed? It'd be really interesting to see the dynamic of the team. We think it's really good.
Yep.
You know, all indicators point to that they're going to have a great team dynamic. But Jim Schlossnagle is going to have to make managerial decisions in tight baseball games in the moment, but also can understand that he's got to play 5 games in 6 days. And so how do you keep guys fresh? When can you get, how often do they rotate the catchers? When does Blake Benderup get his at-bats? Does Jack Bell, Jet Johnston, Caden Sorrell, who he mentioned by name this week, do they factor in the weekend in Arlington or at Texas, or do you hold them for a start against Texas Southern? How all of that is managed is also good for the coaching staff. So this is by far the most interesting stretch of games that Texas A&M has played this year because of the talent level that they'll be playing, because of the frequency with which they'll be playing, and also because of how they're going to have to balance who's in, who's out, the decisions in the bullpen, the whole thing. So we're going to start to get a better glimpse of the inner workings of the mind of Jim Schlossnagle for this team after this stretch of games.
All right, before we hit a break, let me ask Richard this, and you guys chime in. Durham Doc sent in this email. Over and under for A&M homers this weekend, over and under for 6 earned runs allowed this weekend.
Ooh, I think I will take the over 6 earned runs, right? Because they've been pitching at a...
And he said 4 home runs, by the way.
4 home runs. I'll think about that one. 4? I might go with 4.
With 4.
Because the park does play big, and you're going to face better pitching than you've seen all year. And as far as the runs, I mean, they're not going to give up 1-2 runs on an entire weekend moving forward, and they're facing a team that really hits in Arizona State, and they play them twice. So I will take the over on 6 earned runs allowed this week.
Jonathan?
Oh, go ahead, Jim.
I think that I'll take the over on home runs. I still think the way they're hitting that they're going to carry confidence into that building. There are some places that park that some balls will fly out. We don't know what they're going to do with the roof situation and everything like that. But, yeah, I think there's going to be more runs scored probably by Arizona State. I love the way the pitching is set up with your two experienced guys going against the better the better hitting team, and then you're able to get Tanner Jones in another start, and Cedillo has been lights out as a reliever, so that does not bode well for a team in USC that's batting .209. So I would still take the over 6 runs.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Arizona State's offense seems like their best bats are left-handed, and you're going to throw your 2 left-handed starters at them, so that I don't think that counts for nothing, right?
Yeah, I would take the over on both. Okay. It's just hard. You're saying in collegiate baseball, playing 2 games against a super offensive ball club, that you're not going to give up 3 runs in each of those games? Like, that's hard for me to imagine. Sure. Like, that's one swing of the bat. You have a base hit, a walk, and then a guy runs into a pitch, and it's a 3-run homer, and there's half of those expected earned runs. I like that Durham Doc is interacting with the program, and I like that he's always super fired up about what's going on with Aggie baseball, and he's pretty locked in. But I would take the over on both. And in terms of the A&M homers, like I don't care what park you're playing in and how the ball flies. Jace Lavalette can hit the ball over the fence. Yep. And I would say the same thing about Braden Montgomery. And I still think that we haven't even come close to scratching the surface on the power potential of Gavin Grahovic. And the ball does go out of there to the pull sides, to right and left field. And that's where Jace has done a lot of his damage this year in terms of homers. That's where Braden has done all of his damage. So I would think that 4 homers would be on the south side of my prediction for the course of the weekend.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. I got some other stats to read you, and also thoughts on Tanner Jones and Justin Lampkin this week flip-flopping. We'll talk about that and more here on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is time, or we're going to continue on with the baseball bunch. Bronny, we'll start off with you. Tanner Jones going to go Saturday. Justin Lampkin go on Sunday. Your thoughts on the flip-flop for this weekend?
Yeah, I listened to Schloss's press conference, so what else can you take from it other than what he said? And, they've been working on some stuff with Justin, I think, to just try to improve some of his offerings and on the analytical side, make them present better or, I guess, present harder to hit to opposing batters. And so I think that probably means – I don't know this. I think what that probably means, Scotty, is that his bullpen session in the week was probably a little bit more intense than it had been. So they wanted to give him an extra day's rest. And Tanner only threw, 20-something pitches. Yeah. Felt great. And so it's not that big of a deal to bump him up one day on his recovery and rest routine after throwing so few pitches. And Tanner looked awesome. He looked great and certainly looked like a legit SEC weekend starter in that brief stint.
Well, and I also think it's never bad to go righty, lefty, righty, or lefty, righty, go the other way. It gives a different picture to what your opponents are seeing. And if they're piggybacking, Jones and Sadeo right now, not very many teams in the country can piggyback like that, because Sadeo does come out of the bullpen and is like he has been warmed up, and it's a first pitch start. I mean, he is really excellent at that. So I think that USC, as I said, they've got like 4 home runs. They're hurting with what they're going to do offensively. They're going to pitch some guys, but they're hurting with what they're going to do offensively. And I think the guy that they're going to run out against A&M is not over a strikeout an inning. So is he going to try to get by on guile? Well, we've seen some of those guys have success against A&M this year, but I still think that you can still see opportunities this weekend to really get after the opponents and really expose their weaknesses is probably what I would say. If you get in the bullpen for Arizona State, you can expose their weakness. If you dominate pitching wise against USC, you can expose their weakness in hitting.
I would agree, but I 100% expect for the games against Arizona State to have a little juice to them. Okay. You think about kind of the crossover between College Station and Tempe and the baseball programs right now. Michael Early obviously coming over from Arizona State to be the hitting coach here. He brings with him a first baseman who has now gone down in A&M history as one of the best pure hitters we've ever seen walk through here in Jack Moss. He then brings in Hunter Haas, who was one of the top prospects in the Arizona State program and had missed a year due to injury, and Michael Early knew what kind of player he was and brings him over here. He then brings in Brock Peary, who was a grad transfer but went into the transfer portal, and Michael Early knew a lot about him and kind of forwarded his name to Max Weiner, and now he's pitching on the Texas A&M staff. So I would imagine there's some folks from the Sun Devil program that are wanting to get after Michael Early a little bit. And so I think the A&M offense is going to want to back their guy. So I'm hoping, because we haven't seen a lot of that because of the competition level and just the nature of most of the games that A&M's played, where they just kind of run off and leave people. We haven't seen them play a close game with some real edge to it. So I'm looking forward to it, because as much fun as this team has, and they're big personalities and they're so expressive on the field, there's definitely some guys in that lineup, in that bullpen, that like to play with an edge and play with an edge that we haven't seen come out. So I'd like to see a little bit of that, a little fire, a little bit of piss and vinegar throughout the course of a game, and it's going to replicate kind of an SEC atmosphere.
You mentioned all those names that have ties to Arizona State, but what about the guys from the state of California, where USC is, of course, a ginormous brand, and then, of course, a historical baseball brand? Rehovic, Burton, Schott. 3 guys in your starting lineups have ties
Camarillo.
And Camarillo, yeah. 3 ties to California. So,
hey, Braden Montgomery, who, 2 years at Stanford, plays all these guys, knows these guys. There is a lot, and in this day and age of college baseball, the movement has been from the West to the East. Lots of those players leaving the West Coast and football and going into the SEC. So I just think that you could see that edge this weekend, and it is good. It is good that A&M can ramp it up, because he may be great on Twitter, all right? Hayden Schott, the ball player, is not just a guy that's happy-go-lucky kind of stuff. When he's between the lines, that's a high-intensity guy, and he matches what's going on. There's across the line, and then there's the guy that the public persona, and I think that he's going to show this weekend too.
One more I forgot. Yep. A player who we all think, and Jim Schlossnagle thinks is going to be or has a huge potential here at Texas A&M, Jack Bell, was once committed to
Arizona State.
So flips to Texas A&M. So there's just a lot of crossover, interesting crossover between those two clubs.
Richard, this is from the game notes, all right? I'm just going to read this out to you. A&M has struck out 93 batters to only 18 walks in 66 innings of work. The staff's 10 runs allowed through the first 8 games are the fewest in program's history. There's some more stats, but just with that line right there.
I mean, if you had told me that based on last year at this point, the number of walks we were seeing, that they would have a complete flip into the first 2 weeks of 2024, I wouldn't have believed you. It's been really, really fun to watch. I love watching great pitching, and they've been doing it on a nightly basis almost, and it's really enjoyable. The Max Wiener effect is something that can't be understated, but also these guys taking jumps in the weight room with Coach Kiesel, and it's really enjoyable to watch. I'm having a lot of fun watching Ryan Prager on Friday nights, first and foremost. And then guys like Shane Sadeo, seeing him throw up a 96, 97, and then all these talented youngsters that are coming in. Like, this pitching staff has done a complete 180, and it's the story of the season so far, but doesn't mean anything because it's only 2 weeks. They got to keep it going.
If you put this pitching staff, Scotty, on that 2022 team, Texas A&M wins the national championship.
Yes.
If you put this pitching staff on last year's club, they probably get to Omaha. I'm not saying they're going to win it because they did have some things they struggled with offensively throughout the course of the year.
Unless Braden Montgomery said, no, you will still not go to Omaha.
But you probably may not be in that situation because you're not having to play an if game. But whatever. It wasn't, so you made a change. It wasn't good, so you made a change, and the early returns have been fantastic. Now, what's going to be super interesting this weekend is we've talked, I said a little bit earlier, about kind of the free-swinging, slugging nature of Arizona State. The A&M pitching staff has not played anybody that's really going to bloody them in the strike zone. And what happens if Arizona State rattles off a couple of doubles and a homer? Do you get passive with the strike zone? That's something we don't know. That's a question that's still out there. Well, hopefully we'll get it answered this weekend to some extent. But I think this weekend is going to challenge the mental part of the pitchers more so than any other game or any other series up to this point in the season.
We've seen one inning against Wagner where they didn't have control of the strike zone. It led to 2 runs. And then you had pitching change. The next inning, you were lights out. Your offense was already on fire, so you ran away from it. But we've seen one inning where really the pitching staff didn't command the strike zone, and they bounced back from that with the next guy out. It didn't carry on. These guys have the guys that are back are so bought in right now in their DNA, they're not thinking about struggles they had. Now, if you're in that situation and all of a sudden you are struggling, are you going to focus on what you've been working on, or is that other stuff going to creep back in your head? And that's the challenge for returning guys. But some of the returning guys did have success, and they've just built on top of this. But Chris Cortez, don't know if we'll see him this next week or if he'll actually be starting against the Longhorns. That is a huge thing for him. Okay, and that's why I want to continue to see what I'm seeing from these guys that have rebuilt themselves and are so good with believing in their stuff and believing in what Max is telling them and just continuing to pitch with that confidence, because eventually the talent level of the other team is going to affect how your performance is.
If we have any baseball dads or even young baseball players that are listening, regardless of how good the other team is offensively, the odds are greatly in your favor still when they swing the bat, right?
Right.
Because the really good hitters are only going to succeed 35%. The really good ones in college baseball are going to succeed 35% of the time. So regardless if you're getting bloodied a little bit, your best odds are still to make them swing the bat, right? A&M plays pretty good defense. They're fielding at 980 right now. That's a number that We won't know how good of a defensive team they are until we have a bigger sample size. Sure. But throw the stinking ball over the plate. The reason why it got a crooked number against Wagner is because you walked them. The reason why you had so many crooked number innings last year is because you walked them.
Sure.
You walk them, and then they swing the bat. That's where it gets tough. But force them to get multiple hits per inning to score runs. Make them earn whatever they're going to get. And I think over the course of a season, you'll find yourself going, man, like all I did was throw strikes, and I had a really good, successful year on the mound, whether you're 8, 18, or 28. Like, hitting is very, very hard to do. One of the things that the longtime head coach at Lamar used to do, Jim Gilligan, he used to have his pitchers throw batting practice, David. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because they'd be up there just lobbing it in there to the hitters. First of all, it gave them a feel for throwing the ball in the strike zone. It got them used to watching guys swing against them, and then he would make them watch. The guys would hit the ball in batting practice, and they'd have a defense out there, and it'd get caught. And you're going, right. Oh, look, so like all I'm doing is just flipping it in there, and they're still getting out.
They're still getting out, right.
So, like, make them swing. Swings are good.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with the final segment of the Baseball Bunch. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we only have 3 minutes. That sucks. So let me just leave it with this. A couple questions to finish it off. Here's another stat for you. 18 homers are the most in program history through the first 8 games since 2000. You told me before the season, did you think they'd break the season record, right?
My prediction was to tie it. Scotty had them breaking it.
Yep.
By a wide margin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. 20, like you had 150.
30. Yeah, 150.
Are they? What is the on pace?
Who knows? Because
there's actually a thread on the premium board where it's like chasing 1999, and the dude's going week by week, and it's showing like the pace that 99 was on, and so far they were above it.
Yeah, but you're going to take a massive step up in competition.
Yeah. Yep.
In a pitcher-friendly ballpark.
Yeah, again, I don't know how pitcher-friendly, like to the pull side, like right and left field, the ball will leave. Like I watch college games with players that are not of the caliber of that A&M's got in their lineup hit the ball out of the ballpark. I think the center, it does play big. But again, like how many guys on the A&M team really hit the ball out to center? Jace Lavalette, Gavin Grahovic, Braden Montgomery, all those guys. I don't care where you put the fence. Like they'll threaten it, right? So I'm not super, but again, like I'm not worried about chasing the home run record. Like we're going to learn a lot more about the totality of this club over the next 6 days.
So let me end with this. What's going to be the storyline next Friday when we do this? It'll be a lot more. We'll know a lot more, as you said. So what do you think we're talking about on Friday?
Wait, I don't know if there's any way to predict. I think this team's good. Like I think this is a really good Texas A&M baseball team. We need a bigger sample size to show that. I was talking to Scotty in the break, kind of comparing A&M to LSU in Texas and some of the other perceived top teams in the country, and you kind of like what A&M's got as the type of athlete they've got on the field and the overall baseball talent, but we don't know. They've got to go do it against a little bit different water level of talent. So we'll see.
Pitch against these teams until next Friday, and even if your ERA is 3 in all these games, you got a chance to win every one of them, and you'll feel a lot better if you continue to throw strikes.
If they only give up 3 runs in this game, in all 3 games this weekend, and then on Tuesday, I think Texas A&M's coming into Texas Southern on Wednesday 4-0 in this week.
That'd be really nice.
3 runs a game? You think this offense isn't going to score 3 runs?
It's hard to imagine. And what I like about this team so far is just I don't know yet, I think they can win baseball games in a lot of different ways.
We saw it on Saturday.
And one of the things that I think has been a problem with the basketball team, and I'm not a basketball analyst, they have one way to win that we've seen.
Wade Taylor getting super hot, going to the whole Boots Radford doing.
Yes.
Yep.
But a really well-rounded team can win in a lot of different ways. And I think this A&M baseball team can do that.
And I think there still are, like you said, there are still people that haven't scratched the surface of what they can be.
Scotty, thank you. Bronny, Richard. See you guys at the Metroplex. All right. That's going to do it for the Baseball Bunch. When we come back, Billy Liucci here in studio. Football, baseball, basketball, all 3. Softball, you name it. That's coming up on TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy Liucci is in the office, so he'll be here in a moment. Do want to get to a couple text messages. I know a lot of you have been asking about why A&M is not playing TCU this weekend. There's a reason for that. Because initially Mississippi State was going to be playing in this tournament. They pulled out not that long. Pardon? Mississippi State pulled out, so TCU came in, and Arizona State and USC did not want to play against each other conference games. So that's the reason behind it. They just kept the schedule as is. Not because any team didn't want to play each other. It's just that's how it worked out. So that's why we're not going to get TCU versus Texas A&M this weekend. It'd be fun to see. TCU's the top 5 team. A&M obviously on their way to hopefully being in that destination. We did talk baseball for almost an hour. We will see what direction Billy wants to go in this hour. Where does Mark French live? Don West asks. He lives in the Metroplex area, so he'll be joining us tomorrow at the Angry Elephant. The game plan is as follows. I'll leave tomorrow morning. Billy will leave sometime tomorrow. We'll head out there to Little Elm, and we'll be hanging out there. I'll probably be there more than 5 to 7, but 5 to 7 is the scheduled meet and greet and Q&A. So we'll head out here tomorrow. We'll be there tomorrow afternoon. It'll be a fun time there at the Angry Elephant. And with that, Billy Liucci with his nice jacket that he's taking off. Billy, do we want to start off baseball because we just talked baseball, or do you want to go elsewhere?
Good branded jacket, by the way.
What is this? Father of brand?
I like it. Faraday.
Faraday.
I like their stuff.
Okay.
I'm here to help all the husbands out, all the guys, if you're younger and single, I can dress you better.
You can, or the people you know can dress you?
I can, just from, osmosis over the years.
You're a fashionista.
Yeah, and then I can also, for the married men that want to surprise their wives by just dressing themselves.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of the opposite of lingerie. The wife comes home like, honey, why are you dressed so good? You kind of look like Liucci right now. Huh. And then you say, well, I've watched TexAgs Radio, and he told me about
Do you ever wear
Faraday jacket
suits? Like if it's not like a...
Who the hell's going to be sitting at home in a suit when their wife comes home? I'm just saying
taking your wife out to dinner.
I could like dinner attire, but I don't know who the hell brings their wife to dinner in a suit, unless you're in a major
fancy event.
Major metropolitan area. Yeah, there's like dinner parties. There's nice steak dinners.
Like
we've got one friend, and we were going. I'll say where because it was just part of the story. But we were going to walk-ons one day, and they were like, "Well, who all's coming?" I said, "Well, I don't know. We might have to change plans for the Regent because I don't think I've ever seen anyone go dine at walk-ons in a suit before." Because he wears a suit to every meal he attends and always has. It's just he wears a suit. And so, I mean, don't rely on me to pick your suits. Then you go to Ashley.
Okay.
And she can pick a hell of a suit and custom suits.
Are you a hoodie guy during this time of year 60% of the time?
Defiantly hoodie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go down sweating with the winter. Like I will hoodie my way so deep into spring that people are going to be like, "Why the hell do you have sleeves on?" I'm like, "I don't just have sleeves. I have sleeves and a hood."
Is that because that's your uniform? You feel comfortable in that environment?
No, I feel comfortable
it's a good look.
in these clothes.
Yeah.
Like I would feel weird in a sleeveless hoodie.
Well, there are sleeves. It's just not long sleeves.
Bizarre.
Huh. Well,
I've never seen it. I mean, that's like to me that look. Okay, here
you
it
have
comes.
to have the physique
here
for it, buddy.
Yeah,
just to be honest.
I have enough arms to wear a sleeveless hoodie.
Okay,
but I do. I think I do. But
I like the laugh.
What I will say is that you wear that. Like if you're in the MLB and you're like batting practice on a nice spring day at Minute Maid or where do the Colorado Rockies play? Like you just like that's like batting practice. Like throw on some of Bronny's sunglasses. You could even use your weightlifting gloves. You don't have to use.
I haven't worn those in months.
I know.
I lost
disappointed.
them, and I don't want to wear them anymore.
I'll buy you some new ones.
All right. Yeah, I'm a t-shirt jeans dude, and then occasional suit guy.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what to say to that.
I don't know how to respond to it either.
The only attire of yours I ever actually truly pick on you about is
the yellow
in the gym.
What did I wear the other day?
Big old giant clodhopper high tops with shorts down past your knees that Christian and Cruz have since corrected. You don't do it anymore. And it wasn't because of me. It was because your kids agreed with me.
Yeah. No, you know what it was?
What?
Realizing, I'm the old guy. That's what it was. Like, you look in the mirror and nobody's dressed like you. But you also, I think it looks bad when you're the old guy and you try to be too young as well.
Yeah,
so
you have to find a good...
There's a middle area.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff I won't wear that I think looks cool, but I'm like, I just can't do that.
Last time you wore a tank top was when? 86?
Probably late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. Late 90s. College, Gold's Gym in college. One thing I didn't do, though, I told you, I don't cut those shirts.
I got a couple of those.
An inch holding them together. There's a word for that, and I don't like it.
A little nipple showing now. It's not good. Anyway.
Lame.
Can we get into baseball for a moment?
Yeah,
since I finished off.
I'm excited about this weekend. Getting ready to head out.
Are you leaving today?
Probably.
Okay.
We're on the fence. My original goal was, there goes Lex Luthor. He just patrols by. I mean, my original goal was 2 out of, like, I'm bound and determined to see 2 out of 3. But if I can get there today and this evening, you get a chance to hit all 3 of them. So that'd be fun. I think it's going to be, like the guys were saying, it's obviously their first test of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this isn't Barry Bonds, Arizona State. It's not Mark McGuire, USC. And I'm making that up. I don't know if they were even any good back then, but I mean, I know USC, and they used to just collect national titles in baseball. They used to collect. They were a fixture in Omaha. That's not the case anymore with either of these programs. They'll be Arizona State, I think last year, were they one of the first few out or last couple into the tournament? They were like right there on the bubble. But talent-wise, A&M's about to take a big step up. Obviously, there are dudes that play high-level baseball out west. Those programs have a lot of history. The Pac-12 is a good baseball league. You're testing yourself this weekend. You're challenging yourself. I love it. It's time. They've played 8 games. It's like almost like if that was, NFL football, it'd be the preseason. If it was MLB baseball, that was spring training. You tested yourself. You're ready to go now. I think I said you had tested yourself. You haven't tested yourself yet. I think that's normal. I think most teams around the country, it's like this weekend they're really starting to dive into it. You see it all over. You're going to see it in Houston. You're going to see it in Arlington. You're going to see it all over the country. So now is when the real stuff starts. But
it starts for them too, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah. And look, USC hasn't compiled a very good record against not good competition. Arizona State, they're not blowing the doors off either. I mean, look, here's the deal. No matter what you tell me, I will be convinced. Like A&M, USC, Arizona State, and Texas on Tuesday. From what I've seen from A&M and followed with these other teams, I believe A&M is, as we sit here today, the best team of those 4. It's baseball. You probably won't go undefeated in those 4. You could. You could also struggle unexpectedly. It's baseball, so anything can happen. But if you're asking me today, rank these teams 1 to 4, a 4 to 1, I'm going USC, Arizona State, Texas, then A&M at the top. That doesn't guarantee you a damn thing in one-off games. Now, if the Aggies play each of those teams in a best of 3, I think Texas A&M goes 3-0 and wins all 3 of those series. They haven't played anyone, so it's tough to gauge. But what we talked about the other day, they've looked better against these bad teams, infinitely better, like not even to be compared. When you talk about hitting, when you talk about blowing teams out, when you talk about tight spots and getting out of it and then coming up to the plate and putting the game away, and you talk about throwing strikes, which it doesn't matter the opponent. I'm an expert on that. I threw a bunch of strikes in the batting cage. I went out there in the big bright lights and ball 5. Ball 6. You know, like that they couldn't do what they're doing this year last year against air. It doesn't matter if they're in burnt orange or purple and gold or, you know, that green color Wagner was wearing. There's a guy standing there and there's a plate and a catcher's mitt and you have to hit it and throw it over the plate regardless of what the other team's wearing. It's not like football where, man, how strong this guy is impacts that, if I can block him or not, how quick, how fast is he. No, it's you and the catcher's mitt and you're trying to hit it. And there's a plate that you're trying to get the ball over. Opponent doesn't matter. Now, what they do when they swing, obviously, but as far as your ability to throw it over that plate, they couldn't do last year what they're doing this year. And they lost games last year that this year they turned into comfortable wins, and in some cases blowouts. The year before, when that was more of that team just needing to figure it out and put it all together in year 1 under Slosh. But we all remember that Penn series at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like, this baseball team looks a hell of a lot better against
that
the
level.
Sisters of the Poor, that level, than those teams did. And quite frankly, than most teams in college baseball do right now. That's why they've crept up in the rankings. People are watching them hit. People are watching them destroy, you know, not high-end pitching, but they're destroying it. People are noticing the difference in the pitching, and they're taking note. Because every team you're evaluating right now, you kind of have to do that with. You're kind of evaluating them against bad teams. Who did Florida lose to the other night? Stetson? Look, like, LSU lost to Stony Brook. I know Stony Brook was in the World Series. That might have been like 10 or 15 years ago, whatever it was. But everybody's losing games to lesser teams. It's normal. I mean, it's normal. And by the way, A&M at some point this year will probably do that too. And to be honest with you, if they lose one this weekend, I think they'll have lost to a lesser team. But not like the ones we're talking about. These guys will test. These guys will test the pitching. They'll test the hitting. Both of those things will be put to the test much more so than at any point in the first 8 games. And that's a good thing because it's them, it's the Longhorns. Then what? Then you get Rhode Island, and then you dive into conference play. It's coming up fast after this weekend.
Well, and when you speak about pitching, the part that makes me happy is it's not just the starting pitching. It's the relievers. It's the pen. It's the whole thing so far has looked very good. There were times where they'd get very poor starting pitching or only 2 or 3 innings. So far, you're going 5-6 innings.
Yeah, and there's pitchers we haven't really seen much of yet. You know, Slosh, I've heard him on here, and I've talked to him where he's like, you know, they've played however many 6-7 innings where they've come to bat 6 times. Is it 3 already?
Yep.
I mean, that's a whole extra game they've lost, essentially. And he's trying to play young guys, both pitching and at the plate. But I think in particular, that's time to get some of these pitchers going. So it's interesting to me because just like any year, as we sit here today, your pitching's going to look different in a few weeks to start conference play, and certainly as the season goes on, as you near the postseason. Sometimes that's for bad reasons. I think in this case it could be good. It's just some guys that haven't either, whether a couple of these freshmen or whether it's a couple of these transfers that haven't, you know, as the season goes on and they settle in. I think that pitching is only going to get better and better for A&M.
I agree.
They'll figure out, you know, who knows if it's, you know, what if your relievers on a given weekend end up being, you know, Aschenbeck, Cortez, and Sadeo at the start? It doesn't have to be. I mean, it might be Sadeo may end up ultimately being your Sunday guy and Cortez your Tuesday guy. But there's a world we live in where that's possible.
Yeah.
So your Friday or Saturday guy or Sunday struggles and only gets you 2 or 3 innings. Well, guess who's coming in? And you don't have to overwork Aschenbeck on a conference weekend. And, you know, so, man, I think they've got a lot of getting better still in them. And not to mention, there's some positions out there, and there's some spots in that lineup that are still contested and that are going to be contested throughout the season.
Well, and if they get the Cortez we've seen so far, who did have – he had his struggles the other night, but figured it out. If you get that Cortez this season, Tuesdays are going to be much better. And maybe he'll be helping out on the weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can leave him as your Tuesday guy. And if you have to throw him on a Sunday, if it gets to be one of those games, a lot of teams don't have a guy like that to come in on a Sunday. So you might battle through those middle innings with a massive advantage on the mound when otherwise those games tend to be those 9-7, 11-8 games. If all of a sudden you got him in there to chew up 4 or 5 innings in the middle of a game, most teams don't have that advantage, Aggies. So and then you can figure out Tuesday on Tuesday. But I just think this team's really good right now. You just got to see how they respond when tested. They're gonna lose some games. I don't know that they will this weekend. I don't expect, but you're playing 3. Let's just say you're going out on a weekend against an SEC team, and let's say a bottom half of the SEC team, and you play 3 games, 3-game weekend series. You're coming out of it feeling all right about when you won the series.
Yeah.
You go in hoping for a sweep. If you win the series, you come out of it feeling good about it. And I think that's kind of how this weekend will go. If A&M can go out there and win the series, that's a successful weekend in my opinion. If you go out, but the sweep is they do have the potential to go up there and win all their games. And I believe either the Aggies or TCU will do it. So why not be A&M?
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with more Billy here. Johnny Manziel in the news for something different. I'll bring that up when we come back next on TexAgs Radio. Little Creed for you. Arms wide open. Your jam.
It's not at the top. It's not at the top. I'm going to see Nickelback at the rodeo in a couple weeks. I saw Blake Shelton Tuesday night.
How was it?
Yeah. I mean, I like Blake Shelton. He seems like I'd like to have a beer with Blake Shelton. I like his music, but I really like his personality.
Yeah.
Like on The Voice. I watch The Voice, and he's not on it anymore, but he kind of his sense of humor actually reminds me very much of Dan. Like if those two hung out and had a beer, it'd be pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
They'd probably have a lot of beers. But I've lost track of a lot of his songs lately, the last few years. But when he was playing, he put on a good show. And then I was like, oh, I know that one. Oh, I know that. It's one of those artists now. Oh, I know that one. But he did bring out Gwen.
Oh, cool.
Which was surprising to everybody. Gwen still sounds good, looks great. They're a fun couple. But he sang the song that I wanted him to sing, which is the best one. I still think his best one. I'm like an old school. Taylor Swift can do 8 million songs. Tim McGraw is still going to be my favorite song ever by Taylor Swift. Blake Shelton can do 20-something years worth of songs. Austin is still going to be my favorite song by him. So when he sang that one, I was like,
I'm in.
Glad I came.
Yep. So,
but it's still not going to be any better than Nickelback.
Will you believe that I have never on my own played Nickelback or Creed in a playlist or in my car? If it's on, it's on. But I've never searched for it.
I'm not like I genuinely like listening to Creed's music. If I go listen to My Own Prison right now, it'd put me in a good mood. Like, I don't know, good mood, but
that sounds like a sad song.
Prison. It is. It's he's like
My Own Prison.
Yeah. Should have been dead on a Sunday morning, banging my head. Court is in session. The verdict is in.
That sounds like something Nick would listen to.
No appeal on the docket today, but my own sin. Yeah, it's rough. It's dark. It's very dark, but put me in a good mood. Nickelback, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. ESPN's top 80 quarterbacks from the 2000s.
Couldn't make it as a blind man.
As a blind man?
Couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. And you know that one?
Of course I know that one. Who doesn't? John Granado for you. Number 13 on the list is Johnny Manziel. Okay? And I'm going to read you the list, and I'd just like to see.
Number what?
Number 13. 13th best quarterback since the year 2000.
Okay.
Okay? Here are the names ahead of him.
Start at 1 because it's not going to get argumentative until.
Okay. So I'll start at number 1. I scroll down, and it's Baker Mayfield, number 1.
Absurd. I mean, Baker's a baller, but he was not the best quarterback in college football since 2000. Get that crap
out of here. Number 2, Cam Newton.
Okay.
I can
hard to argue that 1 year. That was, I mean, few have done it better. It ain't like he wouldn't have done it for 2 years if he'd have come back.
Number 3, Vince Young.
And you'd have, I know this goes against, what Aggies want to hear, but I do think
you can make an argument.
I do think there are plenty of Longhorns that will acknowledge, like, hey, Johnny was a great player, or Myles Garrett, Von Miller, they acknowledge it when greatness is greatness.
Yep.
Longhorn fans had to like watching AC Law play, just like I liked watching KD play. Vince Young, right now, the names you've said, I'd almost put him 1. I'll say this about Cam. To me, Vince was more exciting to watch. Cam won a national title with a lot less talent on that team than Vince Young did at Texas. And they both had one incredible year. People forget about Vince because I followed this very closely because I was sitting here. I'm a Reggie McNeil guy. Still consider Reggie a friend all these years later. Their junior year, Reggie McNeil was like second team All Big 12 behind Jason White, who won the Heisman. I think he won the Heisman that year. Vince Young, fact check me if I'm wrong, might have been benched his third. He redshirted, so his sophomore year was Reggie's junior year. I think he got benched for Chance Mock in order for them to outlast Texas Tech. And came back, played well, but where he really never looked back was that game he had in the Rose Bowl against Michigan. His sophomore year was incredible. It was damn near the same game he played the Rose Bowl a year later.
Yep.
Against USC. So even though Cam was only a 1-year guy, Vince was kind of a 1-year plus guy. But I watched them both. I'd probably put Vince right now, as you're saying it, he's number 1 on my list.
This one I love, but people like to whatever on him. Tim Tebow, number 4.
Tebow's incredible. I mean, similar to Cam in that just such an incredible runner.
Yeah.
Couldn't tackle him. Of all the guys you just mentioned, I think Tebow and Vince are 2 to me that are like just when you watch them play, you go, winner. I know Vince won in high school.
Yeah.
You know, it took Chad Schrader and Westlake to knock them off in an incredible game. Madison, again, they had nothing in terms of the facilities and the resources and to work with, and he led them on an unprecedented run for them. Tim Tebow was a legend in high school, and then on through, you know, and there's still an aura about guys like that when they walk into a room, when they walk into a football stadium, when they walk onto a set because they were so great. So I think Tebow, to me, if I'm like, of everyone so far you've said, and almost anyone, I want him or VY walking in the huddle. I'm like, we're going to win the game.
Well, this next one had the best individual season, Joe Burrow, number 5.
You're right. I think best individual season. I mean, so then do you put Burrow over Cam? I would say no, and here's why. Burrow's season was better. We watched it.
But he had more talent around him.
I watched him the year before against A&M in that 7 overtime game. You're going, this dude doesn't want to lose.
Right.
He's putting them on. He will, but the next year, he had the best year I've ever seen. He was incredible wire to wire. When their defense was struggling, he was incredible. But going back to what I said about Cam, the tools, the weapons that Joe Burrow had on that football team, I mean, Jefferson and Chase are 2 of the top 5 receivers probably in the NFL. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a beast. They had Moss at tight end. That team, the 3rd and 4th receivers were incredible. That team was as good as any I've ever seen offensively across the board. Obviously, they wouldn't have done it without Burrow, but I might move him up. I mean, first of all, I put Burrow over Baker. I do too. I put all those guys over Baker. I would almost bump. Right now, I'm still VY 1. Probably Tebow, probably Cam 2, Tebow 3, 4. Probably I might put Burrow 3, Tebow 4.
This next guy,
5 is Mayfield.
I may put, even though I don't like him, I may put him above Baker as well. Deshaun Watson in college.
He did what Baker didn't, and that's win a natty.
Won a natty. At Clemson, when you weren't winning natties. And
he did it last-second fashion and unforgettable. You know, when that last-second touchdown throw to Renfro to dethrone Bama. I'm probably with you there.
Number 7, Kyler Murray.
Do you think the massage thing was going on already at Clemson, or did that come with?
I think that came in Houston. I think he changed.
Hey, Houston will change you, man. You come down here, Houston will change you.
Well, I think he changed. And have you seen Ryan Garcia's act recently? He doesn't. You know who that is, the boxer?
The boxer.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like the same kid he was a year or 2 ago.
Something weird going on with him.
Yeah, he looks like he's coked out.
I think he's heading for one of those. You know, you call it Hollywood, not Hollywood, but one of those very high-profile meltdowns that you hate to see.
Well, he was such a likable guy 2 years ago.
Loss or 2 away from that whole career. Just
he has a big fight this weekend against Haney. But he
you see Haney get the crap beat out of him by
at the sparring.
Tank Davis.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was 19 at the time.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
And who knows how much they left out of that.
Sure.
Surely there had to be some high points for him.
But Ryan was such a likable person getting to that Tank fight, and then since then he made $10 million on that fight. He has been a different guy. Let's do this. Kyler Murray's the last guy. Let's hit a break as we're up for it. We'll finish the list when we come back. We got to get into some basketball as well. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're doing the top 80 quarterbacks. We're not going to go through all 80. That's what they said of the 2000s from ESPN. I'll give you a quick update on the list. Baker was 1, Cam Newton 2, Vince Young 3. You've got Tim Tebow 4. You've got Joe Burrow 5, Deshaun Watson 6, and we left off with Kyler Murray at 7.
Kyler, I fact checked. I'm watching the Johnny Shannon Sharp thing. I wish they would have fact checked that. They're hyping up Kyler as a 2 playoff appearances. I'm pretty sure. Am I wrong that he was a one-year
quarterback
guy at OU? Pretty amazing. Deserved the Heisman.
Yep.
Tua, got hurt there. I think Tua probably would have won it, but Kyler deserved it. And took them to the playoffs, and then they got I think it was 28-0 before they even scored. I think Bama went up 28-0 in the first quarter, and that's about all OU played that year. They didn't have the home and home with Ohio State like Baker did. Baker won in Columbus, planted the flag, and they damn near beat Georgia in a wild Rose Bowl. Baker's last year was a lot better than Kyler's. His Heisman year was better just because I think how the team was tested and what the team did versus this. So, okay.
All right, these next couple, you can start making an argument for Johnny. Number 8, Lamar Jackson.
I can make an argument for Johnny over Kyler.
Yeah, absolutely.
I absolutely could. And look, it's not because Kyler transferred from OU. Like I wouldn't say I was rooting for Kyler at OU because I don't root for OU, but I was rooting for his. I was great seeing him succeed. Johnny had a Heisman season. Had there been a playoff, I know they finished like 5th. I still think the way the playoff and the voting and stuff go, I think A&M would have
found a way.
Well, no, they wouldn't have actually because they had 2 losses at that time. But what Johnny did was incredible that year. It was something we hadn't seen. He was also a true a redshirt freshman, the first freshman ever to do it. And his next year, people forget, because A&M did lose 4 games, and he went into great detail why. But he was a Heisman finalist. He was invited to New York, finished in the top 5 of the Heisman voting in year 2 on a 4-loss team. So, yeah, I think I'd put Johnny ahead.
All right, Lamar Jackson, Marcus Mariota, Robert Griffin III he's number 10. Yep. Number 11, Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. Number 12, Colt McCoy. And then 13, Juan Manziel.
I'd have to go into, Colt McCoy was really good. And Colt was a Heisman finalist twice. I think he was a runner-up. Had Texas playing for a national title. To me, Johnny in college, I think he was better. And look, this is hard to say because you look at Lamar Jackson today. I think Johnny was better than Lamar as a college quarterback. I think he was. I think he was a better passer. I think Lamar was a good passer and terrific runner, unstoppable runner. He ran circles around Myles Garrett and A&M in that bowl game. A solid A&M defense. But Johnny led the SEC in rushing. He ran for almost 1,500 yards in the college game where they deduct sack yardage. I think sometimes people underestimate what he did in a couple years. I think he was better than RG3 in terms of his college career. RG3 won it on a 3-loss Baylor team that A&M beat. A&M beat the brakes off of them. So, who are the ones? Colt would be the one I'd have more of an argument.
Colt, Trevor Lawrence, RG3, Mariota, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray.
Man, I'm just telling you. I think you could put Johnny over every one of those guys. I wouldn't put him over everyone.
I think Trevor, because of the national championship, deserves a bump up.
But it's different than Deshaun Watson's Clemson.
Yeah, 100%.
He was following it up. They walked into this. You have to think, like, the same reason I'm giving Cam credit, RG3 gets that kind of credit. You know,
Doing it
Lamar
big,
Jackson gets that kind of credit. Johnny gets that kind of credit. You know, that was their first year in the SEC. What were these individual quarterbacks' biggest wins? Johnny beat number 1 Alabama the year after they won the title and the same year they won the national title.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny did it as a freshman. He was the first ever in the history of the sport to do that. He came from a complete unknown to winning a Heisman. Some of those guys on that list did the same thing, Cam being one of them. That's harder to do.
Was Cam an unknown, though?
Yeah, I mean, not an unknown, but, like, look, he went from Blinn to Florida where he wasn't playing ahead of Tebow and transferred to Auburn. I mean, nobody had Cam Newton, I don't think, as a projected Heisman winner before he started a game at Auburn. I don't believe so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was a guy that just
I agree with that.
Transferred. I mean, I think there was expectations, but not like that for year one. So my point is, I think if you start going through and seeing the boxes that Johnny checks, then there's an interesting debate to be made for a lot of those guys from Kyler to Johnny.
Sure.
6 to
13. Yep.
Maybe even 5 if we're putting Baker there.
Let's turn our attention to basketball. This is probably an unfair question to ask, but I don't know if it's unfair.
You're rarely unfair.
Are you more surprised by this basketball season than maybe what we saw from football the last couple of years?
Well, you asked Olin that same question.
Did I?
Yeah.
I felt like it was original.
Yeah, it's not original.
Oh.
You asked him yesterday, and it was a good question.
Thank you. Oh.
Yeah, I'm more surprised.
Really? More than 5 and 7?
I was hopeful for well, maybe not more than 5 and 7, but just the fact of like football underachieving. That first year, that 5 and 7, I don't think I certainly didn't expect 5 and 7. I think I picked them to go like 9 and 3 that year, but there were holes and flaws that we were worried about. Even this year, we kept saying like, look, the O-line is a concern. If it's good, this could be a really good football team. Cornerback scares the hell out of me going against who they're going against. You know, like those things worried me. I had real concerns. Not that they would be. But look, if you would have told me this team's going to go 7 and 5 in football,
you would have believed it.
And I'd say why, and you'd say they're going to lose 5 games in the second half. Tennessee in the fourth quarter, Alabama late in the fourth quarter, Ole Miss on the final play on the road, and then the Miami one would have actually surprised me quite a bit. And then they're going to lead LSU at halftime,
entering the fourth, right?
I don't think maybe, but it was within range.
Right,
certainly. I mean, you're going to lose a close game to LSU where you fade in the fourth quarter in Death Valley. If you would have told me that's how the season goes, I'd say, damn, the Miami one surprises me. Those other ones, and then I'd say, well, why? Well, the O-line fell apart. The jury was still out on Adazio heading into the season. Well, we saw the verdict was handed down this fall, and it was in the form of many an ass kicking in the trenches. If you tell me that and you'd say, oh, by the way, the cornerback position is going to be riddled with injuries, and I'd say, wait, then who the hell is even going to play? Because there's no one to even play if they have injuries. It's the one position they can't have. Well, you're going to have guys hurt against Ole Miss and LSU, and you're going to be playing freshmen. Like, I would have said, okay. If you tell me what was going to happen with basketball, the only thing I would have heard where I'd be like, oh, no. You'd say Marble's going to be out.
But I would have never predicted this.
No. If you said Marble's going to be out, I would say, and I said it then, I'll say it now. It's not an excuse. It was a devastating blow.
Yeah.
And I almost wish Buzz would address it, not in terms of, I know it's like university thing, but I wish if someone asked him at the end of the season, I understand not wanting it to be, but I would love to dig into, like, basketball-wise, what did not having him do to your team on the court?
Yep.
I don't care about like what's fair and what's not, or what's going on and what's not. No,
just
details.
basketball.
Basketball wise, how much did that hurt you? And explain to us how and why. For those of us that aren't basketball coaches that didn't play college, but explain, because I do think it was a devastating blow. With that said, I've seen this team at its best, and you can't be at your best every game in college basketball. But I've seen this team at its best, and it beats Tennessee by a lot. It beats Kentucky in overtime. In the second half, it outscores U of H by 20 in Houston without Boots Radford.
Mm-hmm.
Without Boots or Henry, they come back from 20-plus down to beat an Iowa State team that's going to be a high-seeded team in this tournament. I've seen them at their best, and I'm not saying that they're the team that beat Kentucky and Tennessee. But I'm saying if that's them at their best, and those instances I mentioned are them at their best, I think that what I expected out of them would be like the team that beat Florida, at home there.
Right.
That's the kind of team I thought we'd see from A&M all year.
Me too.
And I listened to French, and it looked like they were gaining momentum in such a big way there. And you looked at that schedule, and you saw Vandy, and you saw Arkansas, and you're just going, you can catch South Carolina at home because South Carolina is not nearly as good on the road, and they've got a huge home court advantage, and so does A&M if they'd have had momentum. The other night, the fans that were there were great. But imagine had you just beaten Vandy and Arkansas.
Yeah.
Even forget about Tennessee. Had you beaten Vandy
You're
and
in.
Arkansas. But also that crowd. So, yeah, if you would have told me this team was going to go 11-7 in the conference without Marble, I would have said, maybe not. They might surprise you and go 13-5, or I could see 12-6, 11-7. That I wouldn't have.
I never would have.
They might go
this.
7-11.
Yeah.
And I know there's 3 games to play, and I heard y'all talking, and I think they would be in the tournament if they won these last 3 and won 2 in the SEC tournament. Win 2, play.
You think they get in with that?
I do. I think they would. You saw Lenardi today has them as like
first out,
the first 4 out,
yeah,
or next 4 out. Where basically, if they moved up past 5 teams, they'd be in. If you won at Georgia, beat Mississippi State at home, won at Ole Miss, beat that same kind of level team in the first round of the tournament, like a tournament bubble team, and then in the second round, you'd probably beat somebody good. You'd probably add another. You might add 2 more quad ones along that way, but you'd definitely add 1 more, and then you'd lose, let's say, to somebody really good, a Tennessee or a Kentucky or Bama. That's in our story of 2-1 in the SEC tournament. I think that would get you to what? That would get you to, you'd be at 20 wins. You'd have an 8th, maybe even a 9th quad 1 victory. And you would have won 5 in a row after a 5-game. But David, I say all that. I'd be shocked if we saw that happen. The team they look tired. They look emotionally drained and defeated. Yep. They look like they kind of felt like their season got away from them for good the other night when you saw them at the end of that game. And man, if the story of this team will be, I think, the lack of shooting, and I think it will be just the heartbreaking last-second losses. And I think in a lot of the instances they have to blame themselves.
Yeah.
Going all the way back, Henry misses 2 free throws at U of H, or you're probably going to overtime. If he finishes an N1, you could beat him right there. Come back from 20 down without Boots. Against Arkansas, you just don't guard their best player, the guy that had gone off the whole game, and let him go coast to coast.
And you called a timeout, by the way.
And called a timeout, and he goes and he lays it in. Against Ole Miss, 0 baskets in the final 4 minutes, and you lose on essentially a buzzer beater. Obviously, Vandy, buzzer beater because you let him hang around that long.
Yep.
And you had no business. You flipped a switch, and you came roaring back, and then it comes down to 1 possession. And then the same thing with South Carolina here. You let the guy just drive all the way to the basket, dish it for an easy layup.
Easy.
That's going to be what keeps them out, barring a complete and total shock.
Let's hit a break. We'll come back with some final thoughts here. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Just found out Jackson Moss is going to be at the Angry Elephant in Little Elm helping us out.
All right.
Yeah, so Jackson, what do you got for us?
Why don't we trick people into thinking it's Jack Moss?
Yeah.
Just leave off the SON.
Yeah, leave off the SON.
J Moss coming.
Yeah. So I got a text from one of our viewers in Texas, and it says, simple answer for the comparison. Put Johnny on those teams in place of the other QBs, and what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could put that into part of your you can't do it because it's not reality, and that would alter like every single sports debate ever. Like what would Michael Jordan do with LeBron? What would?
Right.
But
Michael wins.
An argument for me.
Every time.
But you can't do that. But I do think it would be part of the big equation if we really spent time diving into that.
Yeah, I agree. No, 100% agree. Final thoughts here. So you don't think it's realistic to win 3 in a row and a couple games in the NCAA tournament? Or excuse me, in the SEC tournament. But
I don't think it's not realistic. It's just with the way they've been playing, it's it would be out of nowhere.
Well, they haven't done it.
Expecting it.
Yeah. They haven't done it all year.
Yeah.
So
they're capable of beating the 5 teams, those 3, and whoever they would play in the first round of the SEC tournament, and maybe the second. Hell, they've beaten a couple of them already. It's just far-fetched that they can flip a light switch with the way they've been playing now for an extended period of time. Just like I would not have bet against them in the last 2 SEC tournaments, and going down the stretch, you're like, these guys will go out and beat them. We were surprised when they went into Starkville and lost to Mississippi State last year because they were playing
such a high level.
The opposite's going on right now. So who knows? You stay hopeful, but they haven't looked like it. And
you need Wade to be the Wade from earlier.
I think Wade's tired, man. Yeah. I think the grind of the SEC and the attention he's getting from opposing defenses and how physically they're purposefully trying to play him. Go back and watch that Alabama game. All the body checking he was getting. I'm not saying it should have been fat. A&M should have been doing it themselves, to counter that. But he was getting just pounded, and this has been weeks of that.
Yeah.
A season of that. Carrying a basketball team, and he's not a big dude, and he's in a physical league, and I think it's taking a toll on his shot, on his legs, and can't do that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's too much.
Billy, thank you, sir.
All right, Dave.
Jackson, thank you, buddy. Thank you to Matthew Dawson in the back running the show. Great job. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Friday. I'll be at the Angry Elephant with Billy tomorrow in Little Elm. Hopefully you Metroplex people can come hang out with us. And thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you on Monday.